Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Marvel. Becomes stronger by breathing. Obtaining the ability of Thanos by killing him. Chapter 61. Carol's return was not hidden from Sauron. He was waiting for Carol on the rooftop of Osborne Company. Soon, a stream of light flew from a distance and headed straight towards Sauron. Captain Marvel, who was surrounded by strong photon energy, was locked by the military's defense system as soon as he left the Tri-Wing building. The energy signal she releases is hundreds of times stronger than the tail flame signal of the Saturn V large launch vehicle that launched the Apollo 11 moon landing spacecraft. The entire Wuzhou building was instantly tense. This is Washington, and the Three Curved Wings building is less than 5 kilometers away from the White Palace. Director Pierce's phone number is about to explode. He knew the news and was stunned. I quickly investigated and found out that he flew out of the deputy director's office. Without waiting for him to shout, Fury took the initiative to report. Hearing that it was Captain Marvel, Pierce looked at Fury with a deep look. "Good guy, he's hidden deep enough. I picked you up with my own hands, but I didn't even know you had Captain Marvel's communication device." Pierce hurriedly reported to the Wuzhou building, saying that it was to trouble Superman, so the military did not launch defensive missiles. Carol's body was suspended in front of Soren, and her eyes looked at Soren curiously. She rarely encountered Oriental faces, but the Superman in front of her was too young and too handsome. "Are you Superman?" Carol asked. Sauron shrugged. The next second, Carol took action directly. She rushed over suddenly, put her head on Soren's belly, hugged his waist with both hands, and flew away into the distance. She doesn't want her battle with Superman to bring disaster to New York City. Sauron allowed Carol to take him directly to the Arctic ice sheet. The military satellite in the Wuzhou building has long been locked on Captain Marvel. Many generals, scientists, and analysts are watching the live broadcast of the battle between the two. The two of them hit the ice sheet hard, and the energy released by Carol melted a large amount of snow. They even penetrated dozens of meters of ice, and both of them entered the cold sea water. Under this ice sheet, there are many nuclear submarines of America and Mao Shang. The two men broke through the strong noise generated by the sea water, which was quickly detected by the sonar of many submarines. The submarines of the American military received orders from Cape Wood to keep a close eye on the situation. As soon as Mao Shang reported it, it attracted Mao Shang's attention. Now that he's in a deserted place, Sauron can let go and have a fight with Captain Marvel. With Man of Steel level strength, he didn't even know who to fight with to test his ability. And Captain Marvel can achieve his wish. Sauron bent his knee and kicked Carol in the abdomen. She only felt a terrifying force. The whole person was pointing straight upward, breaking through the sea water, breaking through the ice, and flying high into the sky. Sauron follows closely. A punch hit Carol's body. Carol, who was thousands of meters above the ground, flew towards the west. Her body broke through dozens of times the speed of sound. Her body rubbed fiercely with the air, and her whole body was burning with fire. A dazzling light flashed across the sky over the North Pole. Then it hit the Arctic ice sheet near Novi. Carol's battle suit was not damaged, but the amazing heat from her body melted a large amount of ice and snow. She climbed up from the steaming puddle and shook her dizzy head. Anger burst out in his eyes. Looking at Sauron floating in front of her, she was full of fire. Huge photon energy was released from her body, and her whole body exuded a dazzling light. In an instant, she entered the super light speed state. Her super strength makes her fists extremely powerful, and with the addition of super light speed, they are even more invincible. Soren's current super reflexes and super speed have not yet reached the super light level. Before he could react, Carol punched him in the abdomen. Sauron flew out instantly. His body flies in the air, and the heat generated by friction at hundreds of times the speed of sound makes him emit light far brighter than the sun. Then, at an extremely astonishing speed, it crossed the Mao Shang family, the Dongfang family, and more than half of the ocean, and finally crashed into the sea water near the equator. His smash was no less than the impact of a huge meteorite. Huge amounts of dents were made in the sea surface. The terrifying impact force turned into the kinetic energy of the sea water, and a tsunami hundreds of meters high formed. Carol, who was following closely, frowned when she saw this scene. She fired countless photon energy cannons from her hands to dissipate the huge wave of 100 meters high. In such a scene, the movement is really too big. It is difficult not to be detected by satellites of various countries. Then, the military satellites of many countries locked onto the figures of Sauron and Carol. Sauron looked up and saw that the satellites were too conspicuous in his eyes. We can't let go here, let's go to Mars and have a fight. Sauron's eyes were full of fighting spirit. As a veteran mutant, Sunfire has detailed information in the intelligence systems of countries around the world. Although the Japanese volcano erupted and the super earthquake attracted worldwide attention, the Japanese locust even sued Sauron to the United Nations General Assembly. But in the eyes of many intelligence agencies, the main reason for all this happening was the self-destruction of the Sunfire. Although Sauron can force the Sunfire to explode, it may just be a conflict of abilities. They did not believe that a mutant would suddenly appear and be powerful enough to easily kill the old mutant Sunfire. But Sauron still came into the eyes of many intelligence agencies. This time, the battle between Sauron and Captain Marvel has completely attracted global attention. The brilliant meteor that spans half of the blue star shines brighter than the sun in broad daylight. The high-energy signals released by the two men set off alarms for the defense systems of various countries, and they never stopped. Japan. Shinshi. This powerful woman must be a super soldier sent by the United Nations Conference. She will definitely capture this Sauron and hand it over to us. The Japanese locust was very excited when looking at the pictures captured by the military satellite. Your Majesty Tianlu, we have selected 500 healthy mutant beauties. When he is sent, he will surely give birth to thousands of mutant children. As long as one of them can inherit his super ability, our Japanese empire will surely rise. Japan's Minister of Internal Affairs, Toyonari Hideyoshi, said enthusiastically. Hail, hail, the other ministers shouted enthusiastically. Universe country. Zyba, this powerful mutant, at first glance, he is a member of our great cosmic nation. We want to protest to the United Nations Conference. Protest that they sent people to arrest our strongest hero. Your Excellency, please make stern representations to the United Nations General Assembly and President America. To the east, the Divine Spear Bureau. Soren Lee is of Eastern descent. He grew up in an orphanage in America. His parents are currently unknown. According to the information we have, he often asked his classmate at Mutant College, who is also of Eastern descent, to go back to China to get local delicacies or borrow a cook. The director of the Divine Spear Bureau said, "When the Flash comes again next time, let's get in touch and express our goodwill. Tell him that we welcome him back to the embrace of the motherland." In the outer space of Blue Star, Sauron and Carol are standing here. Let's compare, who will reach Mars first? Sauron raised his eyebrows. In this vacuum environment, the two of them could hear each other's voices. Captain Marvel has helped the weak everywhere in the universe over the years. She has seen powerful gods and dealt with some ancient strong men. Most of the time, she has the upper hand in battles with these people. She is also eager to have a hearty battle. Just rely on the power of the original, not any ancient treasures or high-tech equipment. Okay. The two looked at each other and then instantly disappeared from the sight of all Blue Star's monitoring equipment. 5 Points Building. Shet, where is the person? The president asked, slamming the table. Pierce said, "Mr. President, Captain Marvel Carol has the ability to fly faster than the speed of light. And Sauron, according to our latest intelligence, has some kind of powerful teleportation ability. He can go anywhere he wants in an instant." The president's eyes widened for a moment, and he asked, "If he wants to kill me, can he appear next to me no matter where I hide?" Pierce nodded. The president's eyes became sharp. "We must find a way to restrain him. We, America, cannot allow uncontrolled existence in the sky. From Blue Star to Mars, is it faster to teleport or faster than the speed of light?" When Carol escaped from the super light speed and appeared near Mars, she saw Soren's figure at a glance. Space jump ability. Carol has traveled around the universe in these years, and her horizons have really expanded greatly. Teleportation. Wherever I want to go, I can go. The premise is that I really understand that place and can withstand the huge consumption of spiritual energy. As soon as Sauron finished speaking, the two of them started fighting again. The two of them fell from the sky. You punch me and I kick you. There are no fighting skills at all, just punching to the flesh. The clash of steel body and super defense. The nerve reactions of the two of them were as fast as the speed of light. The more they fight, the more excited they become. Boom! The incoming person hit the ground of Mars hard at a speed hundreds of times the speed of sound. The hard crust of Mars could not withstand such an impact. Their bodies easily penetrated the hard rock, constantly heading towards the core of Mars. Soon, their bodies were submerged by the magma in Mars, and finally Soren's back hit an extremely hard but extremely high temperature metal sphere with huge amounts of metal. The planet core of Mars. At the moment, the bodies of Sauron and Carol became still. It's not a life or death enemy, nor is it a crisis of universe destruction. There's no need for the two of them to dismantle the core of Mars. Once something goes wrong with Mars, it will inevitably deeply affect Blue Star. But at this moment, the two people's postures were a little too ambiguous. When they were fighting, they couldn't care less, but when they stopped, they all reacted. Carol's legs were locked around Soren's neck, even though she was wearing a high-tech battle suit from the Kree Empire's Star Troopers. It's not a skirt or anything like that, but it's enough to make people think. As for Sauron, his hands were still holding her waist. One raised his head, the other lowered his head, and the exchange of eyes produced brilliant sparks. That's pure appreciation for each other. But when we look at each other, the taste changes. It wasn't just who took the initiative, they were kissing each other anyway. The two came to the surface of Mars, the highest peak in the solar system, the top of Mount Olympus. The atmosphere of Mars here is extremely thin, but for two people who can survive in a vacuum environment, it is not a problem at all. The lonely flat sand is vast and empty, the eternal desolation is far and deep. Under this desolate beauty that ordinary people cannot see, a special battle begins. A strong ball of light poured into Soren's body. This battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. There is no way, these two are currently the two most physically powerful people on Blue Star. Even if you look at the universe, you can be at the forefront. They all have super endurance. It can support them for a super long-lasting battle without feeling tired. After the battle, the two of them could sit down and have a careful chat. Why did you threaten Fury into summoning me back? Carol is not a love-minded girl like MJ, her eyes are very dull. It's nothing, it's just that there are no opponents on Blue Star, so it's a bit boring. Sauron just gave a reason casually. But Carol believed it. She has been in the universe, and she hasn't had such a hearty battle for a long time. Those ancient gods or ancient strong men would not come out to bully a weak race and then have a fight with her. She knows what the loneliness of a master is. Carol stood up and looked down at Sauron, who was still lying on the ground. She handed an interstellar communicator to Sauron and said, "Little guy, my sister is very satisfied with you. But I still need to protect other weak planets in the universe. When I'm free, sister, I'll contact you." After saying that, Carol flew away from Mars and left the solar system at faster than light speed. Sauron was stunned for a moment and put away the interstellar communicator. He closed his eyes and began to examine his harvest. On his cloak, there was a touch of bright blood among the bright red. People with a body of steel or super defense can only fall in love with people who have similar abilities to themselves. Otherwise, some things that seem extremely fragile are actually defenses that ordinary people cannot break through. Photon energy control. Can perfectly control photon energy and use it to achieve photon hand cannon or super light flight. Flight at the speed of light. Photons endow energy the ability of flight at the speed of light. Super strength and super defense. Possessing extremely strong strength and defense ability. Super endurance. Immune to all viruses and adaptable to all environments. There are too many versions of Captain Marvel, summarized based on the performance in the movie. Super strength and super defense are not needed by Sauron, just recycle them. System, integrate photon energy control, super light flight, super endurance. Reclaim super strength and super defense. Ding! Congratulations to the host for winning 200,000 gold coins. Sauron was stunned for a moment, and quickly figured out that super abilities were also divided into levels. A special energy flowed in Soren's body, and he instantly transformed into the sun. But this time, his sun transformation is a little different, getting closer and closer to the real sun. Isn't the infinite light released by the sun a special kind of photon energy? Just after Sauron returned to Blue Star, a spark portal appeared in front of him. At the other end of the portal is a bald female. Without any hesitation, Sauron passed through the spark portal and came to the Ancient One. The incomplete Phoenix Force gives him powerful spiritual power, which can protect his consciousness and soul. And all other magics are just special energies. He himself has mastered the energy of the sun and is not afraid at all. As long as it's not the kind of super magic or secret magic that directly affects reality, he doesn't worry much. Welcome Sauron, this is Kamar Taj, an ancient academy of necromancers. I'm the one in charge here, the Ancient One. Ancient One said with a smile. Sauron looked around. It was a very antique place. Just like what you see in the movies, the things here can be sold as antiques if you take them outside. I know you, Sorcerer Supreme. Guardian of the non-material plane of Blue Star. Sauron knew this, and the Ancient One was not surprised. Sauron, I take the liberty to invite you here. I am not looking for you. I am just a middleman. There is a special guest who wants to make a deal with you. The Ancient One's words surprised Sauron. The Ancient One, who can let him be the middleman? The Ancient One opened a spark portal, and on the other side of the door was a huge palace that was exceptionally gorgeous and magnificent. A one-eyed old man stepped through the portal and walked in front of Sauron. The king of Asgard, the king of God in Norse mythology, Odin. He is also the protector of Blue Star in the universe now. When he was alive, Thanos always let Loki lead the Chitauri. And he took action personally only after his death. Hello, Sauron of Midgard. Odin doesn't dress like a king, but instead looks like a medieval Nordic old man. Sauron smiled and said, I didn't expect that the person who wants to see me is the legendary king of God Odin. Odin was not surprised to see that Sauron could recognize his identity at a glance. When you reach Odin's level, you naturally know multi-universe. As the Sorcerer Supreme, the Ancient One possesses extremely vast magical knowledge. She can travel in the multi-universe, but usually, it's just magic like the dreamwalk used by Wanda, not her real body. In the multi-universe, Soren's existence is unique. The Ancient One peeked into the future through the time gem and learned that the only other existence in the universe is Miss America. The Ancient One knows it, and it's not surprising that Odin knows it. Sauron, you are very special, unique in the multi-universe. And this is something that not even an existence like eternity can do. Sauron looked at Odin calmly. He had never thought about whether he existed in other universes. Because it means nothing. For him, there is himself in other universes, and it is not him. Odin said with a deep look. Sauron, I want to make a deal with you. I am already very old, and there are not many years left before my soul returns to Soul Castle. But Thor is not qualified to be a proper king yet. Originally, I wanted to banish him to Midgard, seal his divine power, and let him become an ordinary person and realize how to become a qualified person in the past. But your appearance gives me more choices. The exile from Midgard can help him wake up and know how to become a qualified king. But it doesn't allow him to have enough power to protect the kingdom. The power of our Asgard clan comes from the original divine power we control. Thor relies too much on his hammer. His power seems powerful but is very vain. I want you to be his whetstone, so that he can truly control his own power despite repeated failures. Odin's face was full of seriousness. He, the God King, really worked hard for his son. There is an eldest daughter who is impeccable in every aspect, but because of her ambition, she is sealed in the plane of death. And Thor, the prince, is extremely arrogant and reckless. All you can think about is destroying the giants of Jotunheim and proving yourself. Okay, but what can you give me? Sauron wouldn't mind going to Asgard on a business trip. Godly person. As a trade, I can give you the status of the sun god that no one in Asgard can inherit yet. Sauron was immediately attracted by Odin's words. The gods in the Marvel universe are very complex. Some gods are symbols of certain concepts, such as the goddess of death, the symbol of the concept of death. Some gods are powerful and special energies. Some gods are the embodiment of certain rules or powers. Some gods are some kind of high-dimensional creatures. Some gods are special beings created by extremely powerful beings. Some gods are races with certain powerful bloodlines. Some gods are beings with a certain high status. Some gods are called gods because their individual power is so powerful that they can affect the reality of the universe. The divine person mentioned by Odin is actually the high person mentioned above. In layman's terms, it's the Godhead. The god of Asgard is a god composed of two elements. The Aesir Protoss originally had a powerful bloodline. But at the same time, they also possess some godhead. After several generations of blood inheritance, the Aesir clan can no longer become gods by relying on their own blood alone. Only those with strong royal blood, such as Odin, whether he has godhead or not, he is the king of God. The same goes for Thor later on. The early Thor, although he was Thor, his original strength could not match that of the gods. But he is a prince and the heir to the throne, so he can possess the status of Thor. The elite nobles of Asgard can only be granted godhood if their strength reaches a certain level and they make sufficient contributions to Asgard. For example, Sif, the future queen chosen by Odin for Thor. Her role as goddess of the land and harvest was not something she was born with. The divine personage, no matter who is in the hands, is an extremely precious thing. Today's Asgard is far less powerful than in the past, and Odin has accumulated some divine personalities in his hands. Among them is the person of the sun god. There is not the only divine person with the same power, such as the person of the sun god and the person of the god of love, which can be found in almost every mythological civilization. Divine persons of equal power are also divided into strong and weak ones. It can also be integrated to improve. Soren's mind started spinning rapidly. If he obtains Asgard's sun god status, then he will have another powerful root. Personality integrate, evolve and improve. As far as he knows about the personality of the sun god, there is another place that he must possess. The almighty city, the territory of Zeus. In the hands of Zeus, he must have the personality of the sun god or the sun god. He doesn't need to kill the opponent. If he defeats the opponent, he can still have a chance to drop the sun god status. After acquiring and integrating all the sun god personalities in the universe, Sauron could not even imagine how far his godhead would grow. There is no doubt that gods also have strengths and weaknesses. Perhaps, it is not known that gods can grow to the level of eternity, death, and infinity. Okay, I agree. Sauron happily agreed. Odin also smiled. I will cast a spell on you. As long as you stand in the open space and call Heimdall's name, he will listen to you. He will use the Bifrost to bring you back to Asgard. After Odin finished speaking, he cast this magic on Sauron. Sauron is going on a big mission, and the matters on Blue Star need to be properly explained. He said goodbye and left, and Odin and the Ancient One sat across from each other drinking tea. What did you see from the future? Odin looked at the Ancient One. On the Ancient One's chest, the energy of the time gem was glowing green. I saw chaos. I can no longer see his future clearly. Odin, do you really want to defy fate? Ancient One said with helplessness on his face. Odin's single eye was so deep that he seemed to see the end of the universe. Am I going to let Thor become the most tragic Thor? Gradually grow through constant loss. Odin learned too much about the future from the Ancient One, and he felt sorry for his son. If there is any backlash from fate, let me bear it. I just want Thor to be able to escape his fate. Leaving Kamar Taj, Sauron returned to Osborne Tower. Sauron estimated that it would take several years to leave and travel to Asgard this time. It is easy to educate and transform Thor, but he still has to spend time collecting some divine beings from all over the universe. His vision goes beyond the person of the sun god. Xavier's school is safe with Charles here, but the problem of Dark Phoenix also needs to be solved. Now, the success of the artificial sun will bring constant wealth. There is no need to worry about the construction of the Super Sevens building. The recruitment of the remaining team members can also wait for his return. Norman, I need to leave the solar system for a while. During this period, you can complete it step by step according to our plan. Sauron began to arrange things after he left. Captain, Osborne Company has now become the most watched company in the world. I will complete the plan. Norman assured, patting his chest. Sauron never worried about Norman. As long as he doesn't turn into a villain and face Spider-Man, this Green Goblin can live for a long time. Gwen, just train well, or you can go out and be your Spider-Woman. Be obedient and wait for me to come back. However, Gwen eagerly pulled Soren's arm and said, Master, please take me away too. I've grown so old and I haven't left the solar system yet. Sauron played Gwen so hard that she lost her head. How old are you? As far as I know, there are only 2 Blue Star people who have left the solar system. Star-Lord and Captain Marvel. Okay, practice hard, and when Master comes back, I will give you special alien products. Although Gwen was very reluctant to give up, she also knew that if her strength went to an alien planet, it would only drag her master back. After arranging things here, Sauron returned to the academy. After feeding Dark Phoenix, he coaxed her to finally accept temporary hibernation and let Chin's consciousness take the lead. However, when Chin's consciousness returned to the dominant position, she glanced at Sauron with extremely resentful eyes and then pushed him out of her room. Although she cannot control her body, she is extremely clear about everything happening in the outside world. She didn't know how to face Sauron or Scott. With his super hearing, Sauron heard an unusual sound that suddenly appeared near the academy. When Supervision glanced over, he was slightly startled. There are 2 unexpected visitors. Sauron told Charles that he wanted to leave the solar system temporarily. Just teleported and appeared next to the 2 visitors. They are obviously a man and a woman, but they are the same person. Loki. Male version of Loki and female version of Loki. You came to see me. Sauron looked at these 2 people. Seeing Sorin's sudden appearance, Loki's eyes were filled with excitement. Sauron, listen to me, I am not your enemy. I am Loki, the little prince of Asgard, I come from the future time and space. Just after Sauron agreed to Odin's deal, Loki, who was in the Time Variation Management Bureau, suddenly had many more memories in his mind. These memories are about Sauron. Although he couldn't figure out why, the power of Sauron in his memory gave him hope. A hope to completely eliminate the Kang dynasty and destroy the Time Variation Administration from its roots. So, you know that your father wants me to train your brother, and you came to me because you want me to be merciful to you. When Sauron saw the female Luji, he knew that he came from the future and was captured by the Time Variation Administration. Not the future that was strangled to death by Thanos. Loki shook his head and said seriously, Sauron, I'm here to remind you that the timeline we are in is a timeline that is controlled by humans. There is a guy named Kang. In order to erase himself from other timelines, he created an organization called the Time Variation Administration. This organization has mastered powerful time technology and specializes in traveling in time, completely erasing any signs that may lead to time branches at the source. Sauron, you are an extra person who appears on the timeline he established. The more you interfere with the timeline, the more attention you will attract. Time technology allows him to always be one step ahead of you. Even if you become the most powerful sun god in history, you will not be able to fight against him. Sauron looked at Loki in front of him with deep eyes. He understood that Loki wanted to use his power to fight against Kang. But Loki is right, the more powerful a person is, the more powerful he can be to create branches of time. Each of the leaks Sauron is eyeing as a node on the timeline. He and Kang are born to be opposites. Sauron looked at the 2 locusts in front of him. Since they came to tell him about the Time Variation Authority and Kang the Conqueror, they were taking advantage of him. Then you can also use them in turn. If Kang dares to come to me, I will stuff his head into his ass. But I can also give you a way to imprison Kang. When Loki heard this, his eyes widened immediately. What way? Sauron said. Kang has more than 1,000 years of super technology from later generations. He built himself special equipment that can travel freely through the multi-universe. If you can destroy his equipment, then banish him to the quantum universe. Depending on the properties of the quantum universe, he will be imprisoned there for the rest of his life. Sauron told the story of Ant-Man 3. Loki's eyes burst into excitement when he heard this. He finally knew a way to fight Kang. An ordinary city in the south of America, Sauron appeared above the city. He comes here looking for a mutant, multiple man. He can create hundreds of selves, each of which can act independently. Sauron thought for a while and went to Asgard. He had no control over what happened on the Blue Star. So, multiple man came to mind. He prepared to secretly leave a duplication on Blue Star. If someone takes advantage of him to leave, something big will happen. Give him a big surprise directly. Soon, Sauron locked onto multiple man. At this moment, he was robbing a pharmacy. America's pharmacy, among its stores in all walks of life, has a cash volume comparable to that of some casinos. It relies on nothing else but a special leaf that is very popular among young people in America. Dozens of multiple men, each holding a portion of the money, scattered and fled. Although some will be caught, most of them can still escape. When the time comes to recover their duplication, he will have a huge sum of money on him. Sauron had no intention of waiting for him to ensure safety before withdrawing his duplication. The power of his mind directly controlled his thinking. Soon, duplications began to return one by one. Just by killing a few duplications, Sauron got the ability he wanted. Duplication. The host can split itself into duplication, and duplication can also create duplication. Duplication has self-awareness, but when duplication splits to a certain number, it can no longer be duplication. The existence of duplication has a certain time limit, and duplication will disappear after the time limit. Ding. Because the host's body is special, once duplication ability is integrated, duplication ability will change. Duplication. Duplication can split into two duplications at most. When one duplication is split, the duplication has 50% of the host's strength. The duplication can split into two duplications. Each duplication has 30% of the host's strength. Defeat or kill duplication. Dead enemies can also drop light balls, but duplication can only choose to integrate or store. When the host recalls duplication, it can obtain the ability of duplication integrate or storage. When duplication dies, the host cannot obtain the ability of duplication integrate or storage. Host, integrate duplication. Sauron activated duplication ability, and soon a duplication appeared in front of Sauron. He has 50% of Sauron's ability, but he is still powerful enough on the current blue star. Moreover, duplication can also practice or absorb solar energy to grow stronger. When duplication is recovered, the power cultivated by duplication will return to the main body. Everything in the solar system is left to you, Sauron said. Don't worry, main body, I will continue to move forward according to our plan. Duplication smiled. Duplication's self-awareness is the same as Sauron's and is completely controlled by Sauron's main body. Sauron's duplication, in a fantasy world, is actually the second soul, the three corpses and so on. Duplication has disappeared, and he wants to hide. Monitoring ensures that those super abilities who should be born on the timeline will inevitably be born. These are all his super leaks. In a deserted suburb, Sauron shouted to the sky. Heimdall. A few seconds later, a bright bifrost fell from the sky, wrapped Solo and took him to Asgard dozens of light years away. Bifrost's huge momentum directly attracted the attention of the American military. After a period of investigation, they were lucky enough to find clues from a photo taken by a civilian satellite. Superman left the solar system. Many people only feel that the dark clouds dissipate above their heads and the sun shines. Asgard's Bifrost is actually a space bridge technology. It appears that Bifrost traveled a distance measured in light years in an extremely short time. But in fact, this is a powerful technology that uses dark energy to distort space. The most straightforward expression is that in Thor 4, the Bifrost emitted by the storm axe can send a ship pulled by two goats across the universe, and the speed has already exceeded the speed of light. But in fact, the running speed of the two sheep was not very fast, and it was only a few times the speed of sound when reaching the sky. It was Bifrost that distorted the space. So close to the end of the world. That's why the sheep and goats are allowed to pull the boat and travel through the universe at the speed of a space jump. Soren's super brain quickly understood Bifrost's technological principles. But he couldn't reproduce it. Although Bifrost was a technology, it was displayed through Asgard rune technology. Every time Bifrost leaves a complex pattern on the ground, it is the appearance of rune technology. If you are someone who is proficient in rune technology, you may be able to learn something from this pattern. But at this moment, the pattern left on the blue star was classified as top secret by America. Hundreds of scientists from dozens of institutions are studying it carefully. Welcome, Superman from Midgard. Heimdall stared at Sauron with a pair of sharp eyes. Sauron looked at Heimdall dressed in ancient clothes in front of him, and his eyes stayed on his pair of divine eyes for a moment. Hello, Heimdall. I heard that your eyes can see everything within 9 degrees, but can you see other places in the universe? Sauron asked curiously. Heimdall shook his head and explained. My ability, on the one hand, comes from my special divine power, and on the other hand, it comes from my divine personality. The gods of Asgard are omnipotent and include the entire 9 realms, so I can only see what happens within the 9 realms. Sauron nodded. If Heimdall could see everything happening in the universe, then he would be as powerful as Silver Daichou's supervision. Dear guest, the God King has given instructions that you have the right to act as you please in Asgard, and Asgard's defense system will not attack you. After Heimdall finished speaking, Sauron nodded, and he flew out directly. He wanted to see first what kind of place Asgard was. Sauron has seen every Marvel movie, especially the Thor, Guardians of the Galaxy series, which shows many other planets. But the most special ones are just a few. One is Star-Lord's biological father, Ego, a super big brain in the universe, and then turned itself into a self-aware planet. The Land of Nothingness, the head of an ancient powerful being. The Land of Dwarf, Nidavel, transformed a neutron star into their habitat and forging station. Then there's Asgard, a landmass suspended in space with sun and ocean. The existence of Asgard goes against everything Sauron knows about astrophysics. Where does Asgard's planet's gravity come from? How does the sun move? Let Asgard have day and night. Sauron flew freely in the sky of Asgard, his eyes penetrated the land of Asgard. The energy emitted by the sun in the sky is indeed fixed star energy. Plains, mountains, rivers, lakes, this area is about the size of Japan's Honshu Island. With a gravity similar to that of a blue star, it does not rotate, but is in a stationary state. Under Soren's super perspective, he saw that the core of this land was actually an extremely special creation. It is this creation that condenses a large amount of soil, rocks and other materials together and gives this land gravity. Sauron looked up. The sun in the sky was not a real fixed star. It rotated around Asgard, and the fixed star energy it released allowed life here to multiply. So, Asgard is actually a world created by the ancestors of the Aesir clan using some powerful technology or magic. Sauron could feel that the entire Asgard was constantly radiating a special energy. The source of Hela's power is Asgard. Does this have something to do with it? Just as Sauron was muttering to himself, a hammer flew over and hit Sauron in the face. Sauron turned his head subconsciously, causing the hammer to miss. Who are you? How dare you fly casually in the sky of Asgard? Thor, riding on a huge elk, shouted at Sauron with an angry look on his face. Sauron lowered his head and looked at Thor. Unexpectedly, he met Marvel's most tragic male god when he first came to Asgard. The biological brother who loved each other turned out to be an adopted son who was not related by blood. This brother even tried to kill him several times. The Dark Elves invaded and killed his mother. He thought his brother Loki was dead too. Finally, he found his father who was exiled by his younger brother, but his father died, and then a biological sister appeared. This biological sister also wanted to rule Asgard, not to mention blinding one of his eyes. In order to deal with this sister, he released the Flame Giant. The Flame Giant created Ragnarok and destroyed Asgard. After finally taking the surviving clan members to live on the Blue Star, Thanos blocked the way. Half of the remaining tribesmen were killed, Loki was literally strangled to death, and Heimdall died in battle. All kinds of hatred made him fail in the battle against Thanos, and he completely sunk into a fat man. Later, Thanos was finally killed, and he wandered the universe with the Guardians of Galaxy, and his ex-girlfriend became Thor. But Jane finally died in her arms. Throughout Thor's life, from the time he was exiled from the Blue Star and truly qualified as a king, his life became a tragedy. Constantly losing loved ones. However, the strength skyrockets with loss. Sauron probably understood that Odin's deal with him was not for Thor to understand the origin of his divine power in advance. Instead, he wanted to change his son's fate. There is a saying that Thor's fate is so tragic that no one can compare with him. All the other protagonists have lost a loved one. Thor has lost everything. Perhaps the creators outside the fourth wall couldn't stand it anymore, and finally let Thor have an eternally incarnated girl as his adopted daughter. After all, not everyone can kill Eternity, the top boss in Marvel. Thor at the moment is reckless, arrogant. He can't fly freely in the sky of Asgard, so why can someone who suddenly appears He just threw it with a hammer. Seeing Sauron avoid the hammer's blow, Thor smiled inwardly. Stupid guy, do you think my hammer is so easy to hide? So, he spoke and used words to attract Soren's attention. Meowth hammer, on the other hand, felt Thor's call and flew back the way it came. And the back of Soren's head became a roadblock for the hammer. Thor is confident that nothing can stop his hammer from returning to his hands. But the sound of the hammer rubbing the air was like deafening thunder in Soren's ears. Now that he has reached a deal with Odin, Sauron decides to make Thor feel desperate in every aspect. For Thor, the hammer is his closest companion. He is even more confident that no one can lift his hammer except himself and his father Odin. Actually, I'm also curious whether I can lift Mjolnir with my current strength alone. Although Soren's voice was not loud, Thor was Thor. He heard Soren's words clearly. Ha ha ha, stupid guy, who do you think you are? Can you lift my Mjolnir? Dreaming, even the most powerful person in Asgard cannot lift it. Thor was extremely confident, and he looked at Sauron with disdain. Yeah, Sauron smiled at Thor, turned around, and faced the flying Mjolnir. Mjolnir was already in front of him. Thor reached out and grabbed Mjolnir's hammer. Originally, Mjolnir, who was flying quickly, was instantly stopped. On the ground, Thor's eyes suddenly became shocked. No, impossible. Mjolnir is not a dead thing. There is a faint consciousness inside, and Thor can communicate with the consciousness inside. Sauron frowned. He could feel that Mjolnir's weight was terrifying. Mjolnir originally didn't weigh much. It was actually made from a special piece of Uru metal in Nidavel. Nidavel's dwarf specializes in creating various artifacts for Asgard, and the most powerful among them is the king's weapon specially designed for the king. Such as the Eternal Spear, such as the Storm Axe, etc. It seems that the casting process is very primitive, just pouring the molten Uru metal into a special mold. But the biggest technology of dwarfs lies in these molds. These molds are engraved with very powerful rune technology. When the molten Uru metal solidifies, these rune technology patterns are permanently fixed in the Uru metal. It is precisely these rune technologies that give these weapons powerful magical abilities. Mjolnir's weight does not come from itself, but from the magic solidified within it. Sauron could feel the weight of Mjolnir coming from the Asgard beneath his feet. Give it to me, Sauron shouted. The muscles in his body were tense. Mjolnir was slowly lifted up in his hands. This is impossible. Absolutely impossible. Thor was completely dumbfounded. As the eldest prince and future king of Asgard, he knows all too well how powerful Mjolnir is. In fact, there are currently only two king's weapons in Asgard, and one is the Eternal Spear in Odin's hand. One is Mjolnir. Ever since he was a child, Mjolnir has claimed him as his master. Since then, Mjolnir has been with him for 1500 years. Ever since he obtained Mjolnir, he has followed him into every battle. His understanding of Mjolnir was also perfected in these battles. He had never met an enemy who could stand up to Mjolnir. This is why he thinks he can deal with the giants of Jotunheim Lof. Lof is also as strong as Odin. Odin's eye was blinded by Lof. But Sauron did lift Mjolnir. Odin's spell to banish Thor means that those who can lift Mjolnir can gain the power of Thor. Whether or not Mjolnir can be lifted is judged by the weak consciousness in Mjolnir. The person accepted by him, Mjolnir, it is just a hammer weighing tens of kilograms. For those who are not accepted by him, the magic in Mjolnir will cause Mjolnir to combine with the gravity of the planet under his feet. It seems that he is lifting the hammer, but in fact he is lifting the planet under his feet. Sauron, who is at the peak of the Man of Steel level, is already extremely powerful. Although it is not yet to the point of promoting fixed star. However, it is not difficult to lift a landmass the size of Japan's Honshu Island. If Mjolnir was on the blue star, Sauron would really not be able to lift it by force with his current strength. Hela is Mjolnir's former master. She grabbed Mjolnir and broke it, not that her physical power had reached that level. Soon, Loki and the 4 Asgard warriors rushed to Thor's side. They all raised their heads and stared dumbly at Sauron, who lifted Mjolnir up. Shit, he can actually lift Mjolnir. Who the hell is he? Why are Asgard's defense systems unresponsive? What a powerful force. I wonder where he came from. What is the purpose of coming to Asgard? Loki looked at Sauron, and various conspiracies and calculations began to flash in his mind. He is judging whether Sauron can be used by him to help him obtain the throne of Asgard. Soren's huge power acts on Mjolnir's original. Although Uru metal is the top magical metal in the universe, it is not indestructible. Even a vibranium shield can be chopped to pieces by Thanos' Tyrant Butcher Knife. The Tyrant's Butcher Knife that chopped up the vibranium shield was shattered into pieces by Wanda's origin magic power. The slight consciousness in Mjolnir perceived the danger of being crushed. Sauron, who possesses powerful spiritual power, is able to perceive the slight consciousness in Mjolnir. In fact, not only Mjolnir, but also Stormax is slightly conscious. This can be seen through Thor 4, it doesn't sound jealous. If you don't want to be crushed, just obey me. Sauron snorted at Mjolnir. In an instant, Mjolnir in Soren's hand lightened, and Asgard's huge gravity disappeared instantly. The hammer in his hand only weighed a few dozen kilograms. Sauron held Mjolnir in his hand and touched the hammer. Like petting a kitten. Thor perceived all this, and the anger in his heart surged. Fake squid, let go of my hammer. For Thor, this was better than sleeping with his wife, which he couldn't accept. In anger, Thor instantly summoned a bolt of thunder and hit Sauron. However, this lightning could not cause any harm to Sauron. Sauron threw the hammer down and said with a smile, "Is this Thor of Asgard? You are the weakest god I have ever encountered. Thunder is so weak that he doesn't deserve to be called Thor. I think you are the god of sparks. Come on, pick up your hammer and let me see if you, the god of hammers, are qualified." The dedicated Sauron got to work. Thor's anger was completely aroused. He grabbed the hammer, and dark clouds began to gather in the sky, and the thunder roared. A powerful force of thunder is being nurtured. On the ground, Loki and the 4 Asgard warriors stayed away from each other. God King Odin, how dare he anger Thor like this? You are really bold. Aren't you afraid of angering the God King? HMPH. Thor is about to use his most powerful move, and he will be doomed. Loki looked in the direction of the Golden Hall. Asgard's defense system did not respond to such movement, and no one even came to look. Loki realized that this was Odin's tacit approval. He figured out in an instant that this was Odin's test of Thor. Sadness and disappointment emerged in his heart. At this moment, in the Golden Hall, Odin silently watched the thunder in the distance. Frigga looked at her worriedly and said, "Odin, will Thor be okay?" Odin's eyes were firm and he said, "I would rather he be injured in the hands of Sauron than bleed in the hands of the enemy in the future." The person of the sun god, are you ready? Frigga nodded and said, "Ready, you can start the ceremony at any time to canonize the new sun god." Odin nodded and said, "That's good." He becomes the sun god, and Thor's destiny, Asgard's destiny, and talents will all change accordingly. Chapter 71. Sauron brandished Mjolnir, and he flew high into the sky. Dark clouds rotated and gathered around him, and a tornado composed of dark clouds and thunder appeared around his body. And he is in the eye of the storm. Thunderbolts were triggered by the thunder hammer in his hand. Start gathering. When the thunder triggered reached Thor's limit, he suddenly raised Mjolnir and aimed it at Sauron in the sky. The huge thunder triggered by Mjolnir instantly headed towards Sauron. Sauron didn't even want to hide, he faced this terrifying thunder. The temperature of the battlesuit woven from adamantium instantly rose to tens of thousands of degrees. If the person wearing this battlesuit were anyone else, he would definitely be carbonized. But Soren's body is not afraid of such terrifying heat at all. At tens of thousands of degrees, adamantium does not affect the original performance at all, let alone melt. But because of the original high temperature, it produced a light that was as bright as a super-large searchlight. Everyone who was stabbed couldn't help but turn their heads. Thor also covered his eyes. He was confident that the thunder he sent out was already his strongest one in 1,500 years. It's impossible for anyone to resist. But when the battle suit cooled down and the light faded, Soren's intact figure appeared. His face was stern, and his eyes showed deep disdain. "Thor Odinson, is this the strength of your Asgard Thor? You disappoint me so much. I didn't expect that the son of Odin, who is so powerful in the universe, would be so miserable. They say a tiger's father has no sons, but I think you, the Asgard royal family, are just heroic fools." Ha 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 ha. Sauron laughed loudly. At this moment, he looked as much like a villain as he did. Under the dark clouds, Thor's face became increasingly ugly. Asshole, I'm going to kill you. You are not allowed to insult my father. My family. Thor flew directly towards Sauron. When a father pays for his son, this kind of deal is too rare. Sauron was not polite. With his super reflexes and super speed, Thor was as slow as a turtle. Bump. Sauron punched Thor in the stomach. He didn't react at all. The spasm of many organs in his abdomen turned him into a ripe shrimp in an instant. I vomited out all the wine I drank not long ago. Bump. Bump. Thor has no power to resist at all. Sauron controlled the power so that Thor would only feel pain but not kill him. In just a short moment, Thor was hit dozens of times by Sauron like a sandbag. In the end, Thor fell directly to the ground, with bruises all over his body. His face was even beaten, and Frigga might not even recognize him. The 4 Asgard warriors were shocked when they saw this scene. He quickly ran over, protected Thor tightly, and looked at Sauron warily. When Loki saw his brother being beaten like this, he couldn't hide the joy in his eyes. But he still stood in front of Thor. Sauron landed, not caring about the 5 people protecting Thor. Why, the mighty Thor needs to be protected by others. I made a mistake just now. Even if you hold a hammer, you are still a loser. Sauron laughed mercilessly, but Soren's consciousness was looking at the light group that fell from the system space after defeating Thor. Thunder power. The original divine power born from the ancient bloodline of the Odin family. After integrating, the host will gain the power to control thunder. System integrate. With the power of Soren's mind, he could clearly see that countless thunderbolts were beginning to be born in the cells of his body. At the same time, a power that was very different from the power of the sun was born in his body. These two forces do not conflict, but rather coexist harmoniously. Sauron looked at Thor and sneered. Thor, I will show you today what the true power of thunder is. When it comes to the power of thunder, looking across the universe, who knows it better than the people from the East? In the eyes of Westerners, thunder and lightning are just a kind of energy. Even if it is linked to God, it is just a higher energy. But the ancestors of the Orientals have long regarded thunder as a rule. It is regarded as an inseparable part of everything in the universe. Rule of heaven and earth. Although this universe is not the fantasy universe of the East. But the power of thunder also has great potential. Although Sauron had just integrated the divine power of thunder, he had already discovered the deeper power contained in it. Soren's body was wrapped in strong thunder. Thor's eyes, which were swollen with only a slit, widened even more in shock. You actually have the power of thunder. Thor was shocked. He can feel the divine power that has the same origin as him. There was deep envy in Loki's eyes. He also longs for this kind of divine power, but his original ability of giants of Jotunheim has not awakened, so he can only learn magic and witchcraft from Frigga. Thor, open your eyes and watch. Thunder is far more powerful than lightning. You can only use thunder to release lightning to attack others. If you don't follow the upright path, you will only follow evil ways. Sauron levitated into the air. This time, he did not use flight's ability, but was surrounded by the power of thunder, causing his body to fly high. Above the sky, thunder is rolling and dark clouds are gathering. But Sauron was not summoning lightning. He closed his eyes and felt the higher level of power in the thunder power. Thunder is both creation and destruction. Everything about thunder that he had come into contact with in countless previous lives, at this moment, became the material for the growth of thunder's divine power in his body. Gradually, the thunder power in his body became different. The breath of creation and the breath of destruction emerge at the same time. In the Golden Hall, Odin's one eye widened. He actually understands the power of thunder to such an extent. He felt even more that he was right to find Sauron. Thor felt the deep, advanced power that was far greater than his own thunder power, and the shock in his eyes turned into confusion. Boom. Soren's eyes, one eye is filled with golden lightning. One eye is filled with black lightning. A force of 2 kinds of lightning fell from the sky and struck Thor hard. Loki and the 4 warriors were all knocked away. Thor's body, under the thunder that represents 2 different rules, is in the state of destruction and creation. His eyes were completely dull, but his consciousness entered a thunder space. The endless thunder condensed into the figure of Sauron. He looked at Thor and uttered words composed of deafening thunder. Thor, feel everything here carefully. Let me teach you what the real thunder is. In the thunder space, Sauron combined himself with various memories and understandings from his previous life, and the thunder he felt manifested here. Although, he only perceives life and destruction now. But this deeper source of divine power is enough for Thor to complete a divine power awakening. In the original book, in the arena on Sakaar, Awakening's thunder was just an ordinary thunder power. Just so that he no longer relies on Mjolnir, he can release powerful lightning attacks. No matter how powerful that kind of thunder is, it is just a kind of energy. And what Sauron realized has already reached the level of rules. Boom! The sound of rolling thunder is mighty in the thunder space. Thunder is never just that bright lightning. A spring thunder shakes the heaven and earth, and all things revive. In Thor's eyes, he saw with a spring thunder, everything in the world woke up from the cold winter. In front of him, it seemed that there was a world of ice and snow, and in an instant, it was green. In this spring thunder, Thor seemed to gradually have some insights. Asgard, all seasons are like spring, there is never any winter, spring or summer. There are no natural disasters here. He can't see the thunder of nature here. However, he had seen it on other planets, but he never took it seriously. As a god, he believed that he was superior to nature. But at this moment, he woke up. The sight of spring thunder he had seen on many planets in the past was rolling in his heart. Gradually, a touch of golden thunder appeared in his body. The golden thunder was full of vitality. It's like a seed, taking root, sprouting, and growing vigorously in Thor's body. Sauron smiled with satisfaction. Thor's ability is very powerful, otherwise he would be able to make Mjolnir recognize him as his master at a very young age. It's just that the culture is different, as well as the power of Asgard, the power of Odin, and everything he comes into contact with as the Prince of Asgard. He didn't even realize that he had only mastered the most superficial part of his divine power. The deal with Odin was concluded, but Sauron did not show the law of destruction in thunder. Thor's consciousness was separated from the thunder space created by Sauron. It was actually a temporary spiritual space created by Sauron's spiritual power. Thor's consciousness returned to his body, but he still closed his eyes tightly. At this moment, his body was wrapped in a layer of rich thunder, and his body was suspended about 1 meter high. In this rich thunder, a hint of golden thunder flashes from time to time. That golden thunder is like the king of thunder, dominating other ordinary thunder. In the golden hall, Odin saw the golden thunder flashing across Thor's body from time to time, and his one eye was full of surprises. Thunder of life. This is the thunder of life in ancient legends. It has extremely huge vitality. If Thor can convert all his thunder power into the life thunder power, he can integrate the godhead of the god of life. God of life and thunder. Odin came to Thor's side in the next second. Seeing Odin, the 4 fell and 10 others saluted quickly. Join the god king. Odin nodded at them, then looked at Thor with love and excitement. He turned to look at Sauron and said, "Thank you Superman, you have completed our deal. I will immediately arrange an promotion ceremony and canonize you as the sun god of Juwe." Odin's words made the 4 warriors suddenly confused. Co-author, this strong man was invited by God King Odin to train Thor. No wonder, no one cares about him flying in the sky of Asgard. Only Loki's eyes looked lonely. Sure enough, my father still loves his eldest son the most. Odin ignored Thor's thunder, reached out to pick him up, and turned away. Now is Thor's most important moment. There is no room for any interruption. As soon as Odin left, Sauron was surrounded by 4 warriors. They did not intend to attack. The 4 warriors are actually the 3 warriors. They are the team given to Sauron by Odin. They will fight with him. In the future, Thor will become the king and they will be the generals. Sif is the daughter-in-law chosen by Odin and Frigga. She is the most powerful female warrior in Asgard and the goddess of land and harvest. They all revolve around Thor, the foursome who are inseparable from Thor. The biggest mistake Odin and Frigga made was to let their chosen daughter-in-law, the goddess Sif, hang out with Thor. What could have been a good relationship turned out to be pure brotherhood. Sif looked at Sauron and asked, "What did you do to Thor?" "The God King wants to make you the sun god. Asgard's sun god has been suspended for tens of thousands of years. Because there is no one in Asgard who has cultivated the power of the sun and met the requirements for being canonized as a god. Suddenly Odin wanted to confer the title of sun god to Sauron, which surprised them. Goddess Sif is indeed very beautiful and very attractive to Sauron. Anyway, Thor's true love is Jane Foster on the Blue Star. As the sun god of Asgard, he is combined with the goddess of land and harvest, which is also suitable for the occasion. Thor's divine power is too weak. I help him awakening a more powerful thunder as divine power. Sauron smiled brightly at Sif. The other three warriors frowned. They all knew that Sif would be the queen of Asgard in the future and would be Thor's wife. Suddenly, I felt that Sauron wanted to win someone's love. Fandral suddenly said, Sif will be Thor's wife in the future, you'd better not do Xiao's business. Sif frowned slightly. In fact, she had always regarded herself as Thor's future wife, assisting him by his side. But the more time passed, the more she realized that she regarded Thor as a brother. She could feel it, too, and Thor felt the same way about her. But she can't change the will of the God King and the one behind him. Sauron smiled and said, I can see the vague fate of others. Thor's lover will be a Midgard woman, and that will become the love of his life. After losing her, he has never looked for another woman. But everyone didn't believe Soren's words. Thor is the future God King. How can he marry a mortal from Midgard? If Asgard's future is immortal, then Asgard becoming a joke in the universe is not the most important thing. The most important thing is whether powerful offspring can be born. Thor is the descendant of Odin and Frigga. He has shown demonic abilities since he was a child. This is something that will affect countless generations of Asgard. It is absolutely impossible for God King Odin to agree. Hogun also said. There was a glint in Loki's eyes. If I promote this marriage, Thor may lose the right to inherit the throne. Loki made up his mind to find out who the woman was, and then he brought Asgard to create an opportunity for Thor to fall in love with her. Sauron didn't care whether these people believed it or not, he just planted a seed in Sif's heart. The main hall and promotion ceremony for the canonization of gods are a complete process. The gods of Asgard are basically all acquired gods. If the entire universe is viewed as a computer system, the divine persona is the authority in this system. Existences such as eternity, infinity, and death are the highest authority of the entire system. Asgard's sun god personality only has partial authority over a certain section. Integrating other divine persons is to increase the level of authority until it reaches the highest authority like eternity. And beyond eternity, there is transcendence. Beyond the original authority of the system, that is, beyond the original authority of the universe. Definitely this is just a relatively understandable metaphor. The real gods are far more complicated and huge than this. The 9 realms controlled by Asgard actually cover the vast star field within thousands of light years. There are 9 special life planets in this star field, and these 9 special life planets are all located at the 9 key nodes of the world tree. The Kree Empire and the Nova Empire are the 2 most powerful empires in the galaxy. Their territory far exceeds the 9 realms, but they have no gods. The 9 realms are special in the entire universe. Coupled with the ancient and powerful divine bloodline in the Aesir clan, the divine personage can be born in the 9 realms. Asgard's divine persona is not stored in the treasury of the Golden Hall. Instead, it is stored in the special dimensional space of the sun and the moon. Soul Castle. That is the place where Asgard people's souls enter after they die in battle. It is a special dimension. When the soul enters the Soul Castle, it is a different kind of resurrection. It does not mean that there is no chance of returning to the material plane. The entire ceremony is to report to the ancestors in the Soul Castle that the predecessor of the Sun God will bring the person of the Sun God to reality from the Soul Castle. Then, under complicated rituals, the universe and the Sun God's personality were identified with Sauron. The Sun God who has been suspended for thousands of years was canonized, and the whole Asgard was filled with joy. All the Asgardians, as well as the invited nobles from the 9 realms, were all dressed up to attend. The entire Golden Hall is packed with people. Thousands of people, dressed in the most gorgeous clothes. At the front, Odin is sitting on the throne. On both sides of him, Frigga stands behind him, Thor and Loki who have completely awakened the thunder seed of life. The other important figures in Asgard were also standing in the area close to Odin. I, Odin Bolson, The King of God, the King of Asgard, the Asgardian of the 9 realms, solemnly declare again. I declare in the name of my grandfather Bu Li, my father Bull, and I, Li Ding, the man of Midgard, Sauron Li. Because of his great strength and great achievements for Asgard, I canonize him as the true god of Asgard, the only sun god in the 9 realms. As Odin's voice resounded throughout Asgard, his voice was also transmitted into the Soul Castle through special magic. Odin had communicated with his father a long time ago, so the sun god in Soul Castle quickly brought the person of the sun god to the real plane. I saw a bright and peaceful golden light shining in front of Odin through the thick roof of the golden hall. A divine object exuding blazing light slowly descended from the golden light. Then, it floated in front of Odin. It was something like a crystal, but definitely not a crystal. Incomparably crystal clear, exuding the rich power of the sun. This is the manifestation of the divine person. Odin glanced at the person of the sun god, and then said loudly, "Now, I invite the only sun god in the 9 realms." As the words fell, Sauron wore a dress specially sewn by Asgard's top tailor. It is embroidered with patterns related to the sun. He flew in from the outside, and then landed in front of Odin, but his eyes were fixed on the person of the sun god. He only felt that the cells in his body were releasing desire. That is the desire for a leap in the origin of life. "Sauron, please come forward." Odin spoke, and Sauron walked up to Odin. Odin grabbed the person of the sun god with both hands and placed it between Sorin's brows. "I announce that the promotion ceremony has begun." After Odin finished speaking, Frigga started to move behind him. She is the most powerful witch in Asgard. She is also responsible for the promotion ceremony. As she stood up, beautiful witches walked out of the crowd one by one. They sang some kind of ancient song, but Sauron couldn't understand it. But along with their singing, Sauron only felt that the person of the sun god on his eyebrows was emitting a suction force. Inhaled his consciousness into it. This is a pure white space, and Sauron saw an extremely huge sun here. Sauron understood that as long as his consciousness integrated the sun, he would completely integrate the personality of the sun god. This is actually a qualification. From now on, his soul origin and life level will jump. Become a divine being. If you want to integrate the personality of the sun god, you need to have a sufficient understanding of the sun. And precisely, Wulin is the person who knows the sun best. His consciousness condensed into his body, and then the sun transformed. While running the solar breathing method, he walked towards the huge sun. In the outside world, what everyone saw was that the divine persona gradually merged into Sorin's forehead. What is the sun? From a physical point of view, endless hydrogen elements are constantly fused into other elements with heavier masses. But Sauron is an Oriental. The sun is immeasurable light and immeasurable heat. It is the basis for the birth and reproduction of life, and it is also the most upright and bright existence in the world. Sorin's consciousness and the personality of the sun god quickly integrated. Odin's eyes flashed with deep shock. The speed of this integrate is too fast. Easterners have a very deep understanding of God. Soon, Sorin's consciousness was completely integrated into the person of the sun god. His consciousness instantly entered all the fixed star bandits within the 9 realms. Those fixed stars seem to be his body. Although he can't move them, he can draw endless energy from these fixed stars. This is just an ability brought to him by the person of the sun god. His understanding of the sun goes far beyond the surface. He has mastered areas of power that many ordinary gods can never master. The personality of the sun god, like a core, began to coordinate all the power of Sauron. All the solar energy in his body is transformed into higher solar power. The divine power of thunder was absorbed by the divine power of the sun, but the power of thunder rule was retained. The sun transformation has also been absorbed, and he can achieve abilities far beyond those of the sun transformation without any special transformation. Everything in Sorin's body is integrating and promoting. But the biggest change is Sorin's body. Before, although he had all kinds of powerful abilities, he was still an ordinary mortal. The original genes are actually the same as everyone in the previous life. But the divine personality is like a key, opening the genetic shackles of Sauron as a mortal in his body. Genes begin to evolve and jump. The genetic origin of all life on the blue star can be traced back to the single-celled organism that was born at the origin of life on the blue star. After billions of years of evolution, there are countless lives today. As the genetic shackles are opened, the various gene fragments born from billions of years of evolution on blue star life all emerge from the ancient evolutionary journey. Sauron is wearing one, and his genes are slightly different from those of the blue star humans in this universe. But just this slight difference gave Sauron the capital to surpass all the gods in the universe. Soren's consciousness integrates the divine personality and refines all the various gene fragments emerging from the genes. Become the material for genetic jump. Gradually, some golden gene fragments emerged from Soren's genes. Sauron was stunned for a moment. He knew very well that he was a life from the real universe. Genes should be very ordinary, and Blue Star's billions of years of life evolution are its greatest wealth. But in this golden gene fragment, he felt a sense of superiority that transcended the status of gods. Could it be that there were gods in the ancient past of the real universe? The ancient myths and legends of the East are not just myths and legends. Sauron was a little confused inside, but he integrated these emerging golden genes into his own genes without any hesitation. He understood that these golden genes were the most precious wealth in his body. The divine personality has all been integrated into Soren's head. According to Odin's past experience, Sauron at the moment should have opened his eyes. However, he still closed his eyes tightly, and his body exuded strong solar power. Suddenly, Odin was stunned. He stared at Sauron with wide eyes. How can this be? How could an older and more powerful bloodline emerge from his body? Even my God King bloodline feels surrender in front of this ancient bloodline. There were ancient gods born in Blue Star, but they were only equal to my God King. Odin muttered in shock. Not even the god team can give him this feeling. Could it be that he is the blood descendant of the gods at the eternal level? The only gods Odin can think of are gods like eternity. How could Odin know that the greatest wealth in Soren's genes is the myth from the real universe? The person of the sun god has become an anchor point in reality, and all the golden gene fragments form a complete long gene chain. That long chain of genes will have been integrated into Soren's body, changing it from a realistic crystal structure back to an invisible dimension, tightening it and swallowing it. Soren's consciousness was stunned. My divine personality. However, Sauron soon realized that everything he already owned was not lost. On the contrary, it has become stronger. No, no. Soren's feeling has completely changed. The long chain of golden genes that swallowed up the personality of the sun god began its crazy self-growth. Soren's original genes were assimilated into long golden gene chains in large tracts. When Soren's genes stopped changing, Sauron was able to see his own genes. About 1/10 of the complete long gene chain of the double helix structure has been completely replaced by the golden gene. And this 1/10 of the golden gene gave him far greater power and change than integrating the personality of the sun god. A kind of enlightenment came to Soren's heart. Innate God. I have become an innate God. As long as I continue to integrate the divine personage and let the golden genes swallow me up, when my genes are completely replaced by the golden genes, I will be a complete innate God. Soren's heart is full of endless joy. Ding! It has been detected that the host has completed the metamorphosis of the gods. The current solar breathing method is no longer enough to enhance the host's power. Should we consume 10 million system gold coins to promote the solar breathing method? System, I only have 200,000 system gold coins now. Sauron said helplessly. Ding! Since the system has awakened the bloodline of the innate gods, the system can provide the host with a special discount of enjoy now and pay later. System, promote the sun breathing technique. Why don't you use it if you have such a special favor? It's just a mere 10 million system gold coins, and you can always make it. Ding! The sun breathing technique is promoted to the God breathing technique. God's breathing method can turn all the energy in the world into God's divine power. God's divine power can comprehensively strengthen everything in the host. Cells, genes, will, soul, mind, strength, defense, speed, reaction, etc. everything. With supreme cultivation, you can the most powerful God in the world. Sauron was extremely surprised. This is far more powerful than the sun breathing technique. He couldn't wait to practice the God's breathing technique, and control all the power in his body as he exhaled and inhaled. Convert all the power in the body into the power of the Sun God. Use the power of the Sun God to comprehensively strengthen everything about yourself. The power of the Sun God. This power level is too high, far exceeding Odin. Not just Odin, but all the Asgard gods with godly status in the entire Golden Hall felt a kind of superior oppression. What's going on? Didn't he integrate the person of the Sun God? Higher God? Impossible. The Sun God is just one of the 12 main gods. Hiss. Did the God King make a mistake and let him integrate the godhead of Zubuli, the god of the gods? The entire Golden Hall was in complete chaos. Thor looked at his father dumbfounded, and he asked in shock and confusion. Father, what on earth is going on? Odin was equally shocked. He has an extremely powerful and ancient bloodline in his body, which has been covered in dust before. This time I canonized him as the Sun God, and the divine personality opened the shackles in his bloodline. Released the powerful ancient bloodline in his bloodline. Odin explained that he was explaining it to his son, to the gods present, and to himself. After hearing Odin's explanation, the gods gradually became quiet, waiting quietly for Sauron to wake up. Sauron didn't know how much time he spent. When he completely mastered the breathing method of the gods and completed the integration of everything in his body, he opened his eyes. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw Odin's deep, wise, but surprising one eye. What's my problem? Sauron didn't know if it would be discovered that his golden gene had swallowed up the divine person. Odin smiled kindly and said, Congratulations to Sauron, god of the sun, for awakening the ancient bloodline in your body. Sauron was stunned and knew that his movement was not small. Actually, I didn't know that there was such blood in my body. I have always been an ordinary human being. Sauron was not lying. He has always relied on the system. Odin didn't ask any more questions, but grabbed Soren's wrist and raised it high. Starting today, we Asgard have a new sun god. Everyone, hail the sun god. What's left is an extremely grand feast. Although Sauron is not an Asgardian, he is a blue star person and a member of the 9 realms. In the next 9 sessions, there will be one more powerful god to protect you. Your status in the universe will also increase. Soren's gaze is the person of the sun god in the system of other gods. And Odin also wanted to show the power of Asgard, and they hit it off immediately. Decided, Odin sent his eldest son Thor to accompany Sauron, the new sun god, on his mission to many powerful empires and forces in the universe, as well as to visit many gods. Although Asgard possesses Bifrost, Bifrost consumes huge amounts of dark energy every time, and Bifrost is also a star-killing strategic weapon. For example, if you use Bifrost to go directly to Xandar, the capital of the Nova Empire, and the capital of the Kree Empire, people will think it is a declaration of war. Asgard seems to be living in the Middle Ages, but it actually possesses extremely powerful rune technology. A gorgeous Asgard battleship looks like an ancient wooden 3-masted sailing battleship, but it can not only sail in the universe but also perform curvature flight and space jump. This is Soren's car. This time he traveled across the universe, sent envoys to many empires and large forces, and visited the gods. Thor and Loki, the 2 good brothers who fought against each other, the goddess Sif, and the 3 warriors, all accompanied them. On the bow of the ship, Sauron looked at the stars flowing around him. The fastest way was to jump through space, but that was the most uncomfortable. Sauron was not in a hurry. Curvature flight moves forward at several times or even dozens or hundreds of times the speed of light. The battleship's sails released huge energy, distorting the surrounding space into a bubble and wrapping the battleship. Curvature flight is actually space moving. Although Thor was beaten up by Sauron and awakened by the thunder of life, his character still did not change. I was in the cabin with the 3 warriors, drinking heavily and laughing heartily from time to time. Loki walked to Sauron with 2 glasses of wine. Sauron, why is our destination this time the Almighty City? Zeus is an ancient and powerful god. The Almighty City is a city of gods that only gods can go to, and it is also a garden where the gods gather. Shouldn't we go to other places first, and then go to the Almighty City after we become more famous? Loki spoke. What Sauron wants most now is to turn the golden gene into Befenden. The personality of the gods can only be obtained from the gods. In the entire universe, the place with the most gods is the Almighty City. A good fight there will allow your genes to completely evolve. I heard that Zeus organizes a carnival every year. Sauron said casually. In Loki's mind, he thought of Zeus's rave party that he had attended, and his eyes couldn't help but look forward to it. That was truly the best party I've ever had. What Sauron didn't tell Loki was that he was not just going to defeat the gods and obtain his own gene awakening to complete his godhead. There is another purpose, to clean up the portal. Super brain, let Sauron recall all the details of Thor 4 that he had seen. Among them, in the golden palace of the Almighty City, many powerful gods in the universe gather here. The gods of almost every civilization can be found here. Sauron will not forget the golden oriental dragon coiled on the pillar. There is also a guy who is suspected to be the Jade Emperor. To the left of Thor, behind the god with only one head and a pair of big feet, there is an old oriental man with a green beard. Ancient armor with a green scabbard sword in hand. Closing parenthesis. Sauron is ready to see for himself. If it is the Jade Emperor of the Marvel Universe, he will kill him. These existences simply taint the myth of the East. The Almighty City is a place that only gods can find. This is an extremely huge nebula. Even the fixed star is still in the process of being born. There will be no planet, and naturally no civilization will be born. Even the interstellar mining team will not come here. But in the depths of this nebula, it is obscured by some special nebulae. Under a miniature sun similar to Asgard's sun, there is a no-money, void city that is larger than the sun. Here is the Almighty City. The back garden built by the gods. With its secret location and powerful magic, no one other than gods has ever been able to find this place. But today, Sauron, the new god, is welcomed. There is special detection magic on the outside of the Almighty City. If there is no god on board, a powerful defense system will be triggered. Simply, there is a serious god on this ship. The sailing star warship relies on the guidance of the navigation system to dock at a specialized port. The gods who come here basically take various flight vehicles. Welcome, gods of Asgard. The envoy of Zeus, Hermes, appeared in front of everyone. His eyes fell on Sauron. Thor and Loki had both been here once or twice, so he was no stranger to it. But Sauron came here for the first time, and he could feel the superior suppression from his Zeus bloodline. This respected god, who are you? Hermes saluted Sauron seriously. His father is Zeus. The young god in front of him has such a personality that he can suppress him. In other words, his status is higher than Zeus. But his father Zeus is already a high-level god in the universe. He couldn't help but be cautious and face way with respect. Sauron said nothing, but Loki said, Hermes, this is our new sun god in Asgard. He has ancient and powerful blood. On this mission to the major forces in the universe, the Almighty City is our first stop. Hermes was even more surprised. The sun god of Asgard. What a joke. His bloodline must be higher than Odin. No, my super father knows. Hermes told Zeus about Soren's bloodline of a higher level. When Zeus heard this, he decided to take it seriously. He and Odin are at the same level, and there are only a few special beings in the universe that are higher than him and Odin. Eternity, infinity, death, Uncle Ton. He can't mess with any of them. Even if all the gods in the Almighty City are gathered together, they can't fight against any of them. Zeus entertained Sauron and his party in his garden. However, neither Sif nor the three warriors can enter here with them. Only Thor and Loki can accompany Sauron here. Welcome, sun god of the Nine Realms. As soon as Zeus saw Sauron, he felt the oppression of a person higher than his own. He became more and more certain of his speculation. I don't know whether he is eternal, infinite, or whose child he is. A native of Blue Star, Zeus is also a god born in Blue Star's ancient past. Reaching the level of eternity, reproducing offspring is not traditional biological reproduction. Therefore, even if there are exact biological parents, it is useless. Zeus is as old as Odin, but their temperaments are completely different. Odin is more like an old king, while Zeus is more lively and casual. Hello, Zeus. Sauron also behaved very mediocrely when facing the father of God. But Thor behind him was very excited. Zeus was his idol. He whispered to Loki, "This is Zeus. It's the first time I've been so close to him. He is the god of lightning and I am the god of thunder. Look how destined we are." Loki looked at his brother with disgust. he just felt so embarrassed. Welcome to you both too, princes of Asgard. Zeus greeted Thor and Loki, and Thor was so excited that he was a little incoherent. Hello Zeus, I'm your super fan. Even when I choose what kind of god to be, I imitate you. Thor said excitedly. Zeus smiled gently. I hope that old guy Odin didn't hit you because of this. Compared to Thor, Loki is calm. Come on, it's such a coincidence that you came here. It just so happens that my golden apples are ripe today. Thor and Loki couldn't help but salivate when they heard this. The golden apple, a famous treasure in the hands of Zeus. Not only does it have a taste that can satisfy any god, also has the effect of increasing the blood concentration of the gods. This is a treasure that no god can refuse. In the entire universe, naturally born gods are almost invisible, except for those at the eternal level. Odin's grandfather Bli is a naturally born god, and he is a proper descendant of the bloodline of gods. Looking at the entire almighty city, most of them are descendants of the bloodline of gods. Their desire for golden apples is too strong. Zeus's apple tree can only bear about 100 golden apples every year, and only long-term consumption of golden apples can achieve the effect of increasing blood concentration. The golden apples of Zeus are not enough. They are really not enough. But the shortest lifespan of a god is measured in thousands of years. As long as you live long enough, you will always be able to get some golden apples. Although the almighty city is the gentle home of the gods, it cannot attract so many gods to live here. Golden apples are as if they are made of gold at the same time. Apart from being stronger than ordinary apples and having a richer and more fragrant taste, there is nothing different about them. Sauron took a bite, and the taste of the apple exploded in his mouth. Then there was a great taste bud satisfaction. This kind of satisfaction alone is enough to attract people. When he finished eating a golden apple, he felt a slight throbbing from the golden gene. A golden energy was absorbed by the golden gene, and then the golden gene increased by about 1/10,000th. If he didn't have the ability to devour the body, he would be able to increase the golden god's genes. I'm really attracted to the golden apple. How about Sauron? If you choose to live in the almighty city forever, I can give you 5 golden apples every year. There was a hint of confidence in Zeus's eyes. He is confident that no one can escape the temptation of golden apples. Sauron made a simple calculation in his mind. His golden genes now accounted for only 1/10 of the total, and the remaining 9/10 were 9,000 golden apples. If given 5 every year, that would be 1,800 years. He had a shortcut that could be achieved in a few days, so why did it take 1,800 years? Even if you take the golden apple tree as your own, it will take 90 years. Thank you for your kindness, but I have my own way. Sauron refused directly. A mere golden apple could not attract him. Zeus, CCBA, was stunned. This was the first time he saw an acquired god who could not be attracted by his own golden apple. If he is really the blood descendant of those people, maybe there is really a way. Zeus did not force it, but Sauron and Loki looked satisfied after eating the golden apples. And anxious about Soren's rejection. Don't give us 5 golden apples every year. Give me 100 years, no. Give me 50 years and I can reach my father's bloodline concentration. Rely on your own cultivation of divine power and slowly increase the blood concentration, because it is too slow. Our carnival party this year is at Ego Star Superstar. Do you want to attend? Zeus invited again. Sauron was very interested in Superstar Zeus's carnival party. He didn't know anything else. None of the daughters of Zeus were very beautiful. If it's Ego Star, I will participate. Sauron agreed, making Zeus smile more. Are you coming to the almighty city simply as an envoy, or do you have some other purpose? After chatting for a while, Zeus asked. Sauron did not hide anything and said, in addition to being an envoy, I came here to challenge the gods. I want to see what level my current strength is in the universe. Zeus's eyes lit up. Through a person's battle, he could see his true identity. The gods in the world are one family, and the appearance of a god with powerful fighting power is not a bad thing. Okay, then I will convene the sacred council of gods and introduce you to everyone. The parliament of the gods is not held every day. There are so many gods in the universe, and they all have their own things to do. Although many gods do not take their believers seriously, there are also many gods who protect their believers. In addition to the Parliament of the Gods that is held at a fixed time every year, the temporary Parliament of the Gods is notified by Zeus and summons everyone to the Almighty City. Thank you, Sauron thanked. The more gods there are, the better. He looked at Thor and felt that there were so many gods in the Golden Temple, but not many of them. The more people come, the more he can drop the divine persona from their bodies. There is no night here, only eternal day. It looks huge and beautiful here, but in fact there is not much to play. Sauron simply practiced the god's breathing technique on the tallest building. That tiny sun provides Sauron with endless energy. After the golden gene swallowed up the personality of the sun god, his sun god had some changes. Not only can he integrate his consciousness into the sun of the 9 realms, he can also integrate into his consciousness almost all fixed stars, and the deep void can draw huge energy from fixed stars. To put it simply, the authority he originally had on a certain section is now part of the authority on the sun within the entire system. The innate gods far surpass the acquired gods. With successive changes, Soren's strength has also skyrocketed. From the previous peak of the Iron Man level, in these 3 days of training, he has quietly entered the Black Iron Superman level. 3 days later, the sacred meeting of the gods was held as scheduled. In the vast golden palace, there are many gods sitting. God of magic, dream god, steamed bun god, god of stone men. Quetzalcoatl waits. Naturally, there is also the golden dragon that Sauron saw in Thor 4 and the existence of the suspected Jade Emperor. Just like in the movie, Zeus is very particular about appearance. After a burst of gorgeous performances, he got down to business. Today, I called everyone together and held a sacred meeting of the gods. This temporary meeting has only one purpose. Let me introduce you to a newly born, powerful god. Please welcome everyone, the sun god from Asgard, Sauron Lee. The gods present began to cheer for Soren's guests. Sauron, Sauron, and Sauron also brought his gorgeous appearance. Behind Zeus, there are huge amounts of circular glass windows. Outside the 2 equally huge amounts of glass windows on both sides, there are members of the Celestial clan who have shrunk their bodies as much as possible but are still huge and cannot enter the Golden Palace. Sauron turned into a ray of light and flew from a distance. His whole body bloomed with immeasurable light. His speed pierced the air and made rolling thunder. Many gods looked at that light. Just when Sauron was about to smash the glass, his figure disappeared instantly. Then, in the Golden Palace, the sun suddenly appeared. The immeasurable light and heat made the gods feel dazzling and scorching. Even some gods related to water want to escape from the Golden Palace. The next second, the light and heat of the sun gradually dissipated, and a tall figure appeared. Sauron was wearing the gorgeous clothes prepared for him by Asgard. He was already extremely handsome, but with these clothes, he looked even more luxurious. As soon as he appeared on the stage, he attracted the attention of many goddesses. In particular, on Zeus' suspended throne stood several of his beautiful daughters. They looked at Sauron with admiration and greed. That look made him want to tear Sauron naked. Soren's face was filled with a bright smile, and his eyes swept over the golden dragon and the Jade Emperor in green ancient armor. The killing intent flashed through my heart. Although it was the first time they met, and there was no enmity in the past and no injustice in the present, Sauron felt disgusted when he saw it. As if he had been blasphemed. This not only comes from his heart, but also from the golden genes in his body. In this universe, he is the only orthodox Eastern god. But don't be in a hurry to kill. If you kill now, you will be challenged later. What should you do if others don't dare? It's impossible for him to start massacring the gods in this almighty city, right? Black Iron Superman level, back to the point of running rampant in the universe. All the gods felt Soren's superior suppression. But they didn't pay much attention to it. Zeus had already mentioned this in his notice. But there were 2 beings present who felt a particularly targeted suppression force. The Golden Dragon and the Jade Emperor looked at Sauron suspended in midair, with constant surrender in their hearts. The Jade Emperor's brows were furrowed with deep anger. And unwillingness breeds in the heart. Sauron faced all the gods and said something that shocked them all. Everyone, I came here from Asgard not to make friends with you. I'm here just to challenge the gods. Either you defeat me, or I defeat you. As soon as Sauron opened his mouth, even Zeus, who already knew Soren's purpose, was shocked. Shet, even if you have an ancient and powerful bloodline, you can't say that. This is a rhythm that will offend the gods. Zeus cursed directly, but the daughters beside him are stunningly beautiful. Father, why didn't you introduce such a hero to us in advance? Yes, father, he is so handsome. So courageous. Father, I found that I fell in love with him. Each of his daughters is more beautiful than the other, and each one of his daughters is more nymphomaniac than the other when it comes to talking. Zeus has long been accustomed to having a lot of sons and daughters, and he is the root. Are Asgardians so crazy now? Ancient blood does not mean that one has invincible strength. Let me do it. Teach this arrogant new god a lesson. You all get out of the way, I'm going to teach this new god a lesson. A smile appeared on the corner of Soren's mouth. He saw many gods and they all stood up. These gods, in their own systems, are all gods of war and the like. Naturally hot-tempered, Sauron faced these gods and landed in the center of the Golden Temple, a place similar to a stage. Hooking his fingers, Sauron smiled and said, "You guys come together. Arrogant, fake, looking for death. Are you looking down on God?" Those gods who said they wanted to show Sauron a lesson were instantly outraged. One by one, they jumped onto the stage. The weapons in your hands are also powerful artifacts. Quite a few of these artifacts were made by Nidavel's dwarf. Nidavel's weapons have reputations and legends throughout the universe. Sauron never thought that building a weapon for himself would be his fist, the most powerful weapon. These gods possess powerful divine power, and their bodies have been strengthened by the divine power for countless years. Each, possessing strength beyond Thor. In Thor 4, it is so easy for Thor to fight with a group of people because they are all ordinary soldiers. Those ordinary Protoss warriors are not much different in strength from the ordinary warriors of Asgard. More powerful than the elite soldiers on Blue Star, but weaker than super soldiers like Captain America. They also all possess all kinds of extraordinary abilities. I am Apollo, the sun god. Let me see who is the real sun god. A young man roared at Sauron, and Soren's eyes burst into excitement. Sun god. The godhood must be defeated and it will fall out. Apollo was originally one of Soren's goals. He came towards Sauron, condensing the terrifying power of the sun in his hands. He has existed for thousands of years, and the solar energy accumulated in his body is extremely vast. God is God. Never underestimate him. Those superhumans on Blue Star can be kneaded at will by Sauron. Except for their ability, they are not as good as Sauron. How much energy do they have accumulated in their bodies? It's not that the gods in this universe don't know how to practice, it's just that it's a little different from the practice in Eastern cognition. At the beginning of Thor 4, Thor meditated on the top of the mountain until the storm axe sprouted roots. Moreover, even if you don't practice, the H power in your body can be increased just by increasing time. So the older you are, the more powerful you are. The longer you live, the more powerful you are. It's not a movie universe or a simple comic universe, most of them follow the movie universe. Apollo's thousands of years of accumulation made the sun power ball in his hand enough to smash Mount Everest. Sauron shook his fist. The power of the sun god flowed under the skin. Boom! Soren's fist collided with Apollo's sun power ball. The vast divine power that was enough to shatter Mount Everest only made Soren's fist turn red. But the super self-healing ability instantly dissipates the red color on the fist. Apollo's eyes flashed with deep shock. Impossible. Not even Zeus can take my punch easily. Soren's fists didn't stop at all, hitting Apollo's chest. Apollo gathered the vast power of the sun in his chest, and he had no time to dodge and resist the punch. Bump. Soren's fist hit Apollo's chest, and the defense composed of divine power was penetrated. Apollo had the power of the sun, and Sauron had the power of the sun. The power of gods is a higher power than divine power. The power of Soren's sun god is far less than 1%. 1,000th of Apollo's. But in terms of quality, even Zeus only has the power of lightning. Sauron had no murderous intention, but Apollo's chest had dented skin and several ribs. He was punched out by Sauron. A mouthful of golden blood spurted out. The blood contained rich solar power and exuded a terrifying temperature. In a confrontation, Apollo was knocked down. The other gods who wanted to fight Sauron were a little stunned. On the throne, the daughters of Zeus shouted for Sauron. Come on Sauron. If you defeat them, I will be your princess. Hurry up and finish the fight and come to my garden. Zeus's eyes became serious. He knows better than anyone what Apollo's strength is. Among the gods he knew, apart from the power of the gods, each god's body-strengthening direction or ability was different. As the father of God, he has the power of lightning, and he is very powerful in physical strengthening. But his power is not as strong as his own son, Hercules. He didn't expect that Sauron, the newly promoted sun god, would be so outstanding in terms of strength. Generally, it is the god of war and the god of strength who has the most terrifying power. Everyone come together. The other gods looked at each other and all attacked Sauron. Among them, there is the god of speed of a certain civilization. He relies on his super speed and wants to knock Sauron down before he can react. When he walked around behind Sauron and hit him in the back. Sauron also entered super speed, and everything around him slowed down. He turned his head, with a mocking smile on his lips, and looked at the god of speed. Shet, how can you be so fast? His eyes widened with disbelief. But his fist was easily grabbed by Sauron, and he couldn't break free at all. Fall down for me too. Sauron kicked the god of speed in the stomach. No one was killed, but the god of speed's internal organs were injured. He fell out of super speed in an instant, and his body slid on the ground for several meters before hitting the rocks on the edge. He clutched his stomach and couldn't stand up. Lightning flashed in Zeus's eyes, and he saw clearly what had just happened. His speed can actually keep up with the god of speed. Among the gods present, only a handful could clearly see what was happening. Their eyes were full of shock. I am the god of strength. Take my blow. A god who didn't look very tall at first suddenly transformed into a gorilla over 5 meters tall. In his hand, he waved a stick made of unknown material and hit Sauron hard on the head. The stick hadn't hit my head yet, but there was already a heavy feeling coming over my face. Sauron raised his hands and feet towards the stick. Ha ha ha, little new god, you are seeking death. My rod is made of material from the edge of a black hole, and its density is higher than that of a white dwarf star. Can you withstand the force of 10 million tons of my stick? When the gorilla spoke, Sauron really jumped. But, 10 million tons of power. If it was the man of steel level, he wouldn't be able to catch it, but now he is the black iron Superman level. He can carry an island as big as Honshu Island in Japan. At this scene, everyone subconsciously held their breath. I don't know how many gods have tried to lift the stick of the god of strength. But in the almighty city, apart from the god of bravery, the one who can be picked up is the son of Zeus, Hercules. When the rod of the god of strength fell into the hands of Sauron, nothing magical or gorgeous happened. It was like an ordinary stick fell into Sauron's hands. Sauron felt relieved in his heart. If he hadn't just been promoted, he really wouldn't have been able to handle it. But this scene of his calm demeanor made all the gods dumbfounded. What a powerful force! Even Hercules, the Hercules, can't take this blow so calmly. Hiss! This new god is too terrifying. Is he the sun god or the Hercules? Terrible! I didn't expect Asgard to have such a powerful new god. In the next few thousand years, no one will dare to provoke Asgard. The gods whispered. Thor was stunned. Loki, he is so powerful. It seems that he didn't use any force at all when he fought with me. The pride in Thor's heart lowered himself for the first time. After hearing Thor's words, Loki vomited in his heart. My stupid brother, are you showing off? Who doesn't know that it was my father who paid the price of his divine status to allow you to awaken more powerful thunder power? Sauron showed off the power of his body without any care. Facing the gorilla god who was in a daze, Sauron snatched his big stick directly. With one click, the gorilla god flew aside. Sauron tried this big stick. For him now, it was a bit too heavy in terms of strength and size. He casually threw the stick to the ground. Millions of tons of power fell on the Golden Palace, causing the Golden Palace to shake. In the blink of an eye, 3 gods were eliminated, and the rest were a little afraid to go up. How can this be done? If the mountains don't come to me, then I will go to the mountains. Sauron rushed over directly, and the power of the sun god condensed into huge amounts of fists. Punch a kid. In an instant, there were 7 or 8 more gods lying on the ground. Hiss. It's really terrifying. Is this the strength of the ancient bloodline? If I have a child with him, I don't know how powerful the offspring will be. This is the most powerful spiritual song I have ever seen. I wonder if anyone else dares to fight with him. The gods were buzzing and whispering to each other. Sauron frowned slightly. There were 7 or 8 light groups in his system space, but only Apollo had lost the status of the sun god. Others, either ability or Shenwan, have fallen. There are still 8 divine beings left. Sauron took a breath and looked at the many gods present. Who else? Sauron spoke and looked back. But just now, he has shown how powerful he is. Although everyone is a god, the fighting method is still based on physical fighting. Soren's power meant that they had no chance of winning. If you can't win, why go on the field and get defeated? Everyone is a god, has a long life, and lives a luxurious life. If you don't pay attention to your appearance, what is the point? Seeing that no one came forward, Soren's heart moved. It seems that I can only throw out a bait that can attract even the gods. The only bait that can seduce even Zeus is infinite gems. Infinite gems. Sauron suddenly shouted loudly. These 4 words, infinite gems, instantly caused the entire golden palace to fall into silence. A pair of eyes stared at Sauron. Sauron was overjoyed that these could be seduced by infinite gems. No matter who among you, if you all attack together, you can only knock me down. I will tell the person who defeats me the location of an unowned infinite gems. The Power Stone is related to the plot of Guardians of Galaxy and cannot be moved. Space and time are all on Blue Star, so we can't say that. The Mind Gem is in the hands of Thanos at the moment, and these gods would not dare to provoke Thanos. Sauron didn't know where the Reality Gem was sealed. Then the only thing that can be said is Soul Gem. If someone can really defeat Sauron, the other party may not be able to obtain the Soul Gem. It seems like a fair one-for-one exchange, but for these gods, how can anyone really love them? But apart from Sauron, the only person who knows the conditions for obtaining Soul Gem is the gem guide Red Skull. Sauron, are you telling the truth? Zeus, who was aloof, was moved. Sauron nodded and said, the most special one among the 6 infinite gems, the Soul Gem. I know which planet this gem is on. And there are no powerful Asgardians on that planet. The conditions for obtaining Soul Gem are originally the greatest protection. Hercules, Zeus suddenly shouted, and a beam of teleportation light came down, and a tall man wearing leather shorts and leather shoes, shirtless and carrying a hammer on his back, appeared. Son of Zeus, Hercules. A very powerful god. Bring me the news about Soul Gem. Zeus's old face shows greed. Infinite gems, even he can't hide the desire in his heart. Father, just look at me. Hercules looked at Sauron with confidence. The other gods are also eager to try. Sauron laughed. You guys get on the bar together. The gods are coming. Infinite gems are the most special soul gem among them. They are so attractive to the gods. Even the mow-headed god and the bowsy god, who seemed to have no fighting power, came towards Sauron. The surrounding seats were empty and no one was there. There is no simple guy who can become a god. One-on-one, Sauron can crush most of the gods here. But when hundreds of gods besieged Sauron, his chances of winning were extremely slim. Facing the swarming gods, Sauron used the breathing method of the gods to the extreme. The breathing method of the gods can turn all energy into the power of the gods. There are hundreds of gods, but only a handful of them can fight hand to hand. Most gods can only release various long-range attacks from the outside. And these attacks are all divine power. They are high-level energy. With every breath, Sauron swallowed and transformed these surging energies. In his body, the power of the sun god grew like a blowout. The energy shield formed by the power of the sun god tightly protects Sauron within it. The more the gods use their divine power to attack, the more powerful Sauron's energy shield will be. His eyes were scarlet with hints of scorching white. That was the physical phenomenon manifested by the temperature of the heat vision reaching an even more terrifying level. Buzz. The heat vision penetrated the energy shield and impacted on the bodies of the gods. Heat vision is not only a terrifying high temperature but also an extremely powerful impact. One by one, the gods were hit hard and injured under this heat vision. At this moment, Sauron is not fighting against the gods alone. Instead, he borrowed the power of the gods and used the power of the gods to defeat each god. Divine power is an extremely high-level energy in the universe, and the power of gods is a calendar area above divine power. What the gods sent was divine power, but what Sauron gave them back was the power of the gods. The power of the sun god contains all the characteristics of fixed star. Searing, bursting, radiating, melting everything. Whenever the heat vision is scanned, all the gods will be knocked away and their bodies will be injured. Only a few gods used powerful artifacts to resist Sauron's heat vision. On the high platform, Zeus's eyes widened. From his perspective, he could only see the gods swarming forward. Under countless divine attacks, Sauron first protected himself with a divine power shield. Then a terrifying light was released from his eyes, injuring most of the gods. He's so powerful, it's unbelievable. He alone can actually fight against hundreds of gods here. Incredible. Whose bloodline is he? The daughters of Zeus were stunned and wished they could knock Sauron down right now and let him use his powerful body on them. There was a burning smell in the air. In front of Sauron, there were only a dozen gods left. These are the most powerful among all the gods present. There is Hercules, there is the Golden Dragon, there is the Jade Emperor, and among the others, one is some kind of mythical beast no smaller than the Golden Dragon, and 10 are unknown gods with the size of their masters. At this moment, Sauron is fighting vigorously. Within his body, the surging power of the sun god almost burst out of his body. He transformed all the divine power of hundreds of gods into the power of the sun god, but it exceeded his own accumulation by dozens of times. That is to say, his body is strong and can barely accommodate it. But we must also release the medical staff as soon as possible. Sauron and Hercules' eyes met, and they rushed towards each other. In just a moment, the two bodies collided hard. As a Hercules, he is not only powerful, but also has a strong body. This collision created a terrifying shockwave, like a strong wind. The countless huge amounts of glass in the Golden Temple were all shattered. Sauron and Hercules had no problems at all. The two stared at each other, and suddenly, they both waved their fists at each other at the same time. The majestic divine power is condensed in the fist. In addition to the original huge power, it also has an even more terrifying destructive power. Both of them were hit by each other's fists, and their bodies fell back again and again. As expected of Hercules, Sauron felt the pain in his chest. Hercules also felt uncomfortable. He had the most powerful divine body in the almighty city, and the pain in his bones gave him a new experience. After living for so long, this was the first time he felt pain. But this made him extremely excited. The two of them attacked each other again, because their speed was too fast, forming a continuous afterimage, and it was them in the entire stage. The other gods could only stare. But thunder sounds like thunderbolts in the clear sky kept ringing. It was their fists that broke through the sound barrier and created sonic booms. The more Sauron fights, the more excited he becomes. While the majestic power of the sun god in his body is being consumed, part of the power of the God of God is rapidly integrating into his body, comprehensively strengthening everything in his body. In the battle with Sauron, Heracles was evenly matched from the beginning and dealt with it calmly, but gradually felt the huge amounts of trouble. Why is he getting stronger and stronger? Shet, the beatings are making me more and more painful. Hercules couldn't help but speak, releasing all his divine power. Boom! Sauron punched Hercules hard in the stomach, and Hercules' fist also hit his shoulder. Sauron's body just staggered, but Hercules was knocked out. He made a deep dent on the ground, held his stomach, and spat out golden blood. A huge amount of light ball flew into Sauron's body. Ha ha ha! Sauron laughed excitedly and stared at other gods. Some of them may be more powerful than Hercules, but Sauron is even easier to deal with. Pure physical attack is so unpretentious. Sauron is 100% sure to follow all attacks, but as long as he uses his divine power, performs various magical abilities, or simply attacks with energy. That is to charge Sauron with energy. The breathing method of the gods, turning all energy into the power of the gods, is not a joke. The Golden Dragon vomited blood and the Jade Emperor broke his bones. Sauron will defeat all the remaining gods. This process is not easy, but the majestic power of the sun god in his body provides him with endless physical strength. He looks very at ease. The only one standing was Sauron. He hid the power of the sun god in the bodies of the Golden Dragon and the Jade Emperor. As a beacon, he could find them at any time. Leave the almighty city and show them off. Zeus, do you want to end it yourself? Sauron looked at Zeus and asked. Zeus shook his head. He was already old, and he was very afraid of the god-slayer Gyr. Sauron, god of the sun. Congratulations, you have become the most powerful eye in the universe. Zeus said loudly. Sauron shook his head and said, Zeus, you know, in front of those real gods, we are all ants. Zeus said, they have disappeared long ago, and even if they still exist, they have stopped asking anything. Everyone, let us cheer for the sun god. The injured gods have all used their divine power to repair their injuries. They looked at Sauron with deep admiration in their eyes. This is the god who defeated all their gods. Worship of the strong exists even among the gods. Sauron, Sauron. The gods hailed Sauron's name and celebrated his becoming the well-deserved first god. Sauron himself knew that if it hadn't been for the gods' breathing technique, and if it hadn't been for the simultaneous attacks of the gods that provided him with endless divine power, he might have been defeated by these gods working together. But Sauron will not tell the truth. He calmly accepted the cheers of the gods. The daughters of Zeus surrounded him and turned their bodies towards him. Zeus just looked at it with a smile. With such a powerful bloodline, if his daughter has any descendants, then this powerful bloodline can be passed on to his descendants. In the future, his family will have many gods as powerful as Sauron. In a gorgeous palace, Sauron left the gentle home of the daughter of Zeus. He came to the highest point of the almighty city and began to check out this harvest. Hundreds of gods, defeated by him once, would drop one or two abilities. Sauron counted carefully, a total 583 light groups. Among them, there are a total of 27 various divine persons, 430 various divine powers, and 81 various abilities. The divine personality must be integrated. After selecting various divine powers, Sauron integrates 43 types, integrates 26 of various abilities, and throws the rest to the system to exchange for system gold coins. Spider-Man's super abilities can be exchanged for thousands of gold coins each, but these divine powers or abilities are worth tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands each. After all the exchanges are completed, all the 10 million gold coins owed by Sauron have been paid off. There are still more than 1,541,000 gold coins left in hand. Sauron did not exchange the axe, but closed his eyes and began to feed the divine characters to the golden gene one by one. The long chain of golden genes seems to have life, entangling and swallowing the illusory divine personality. The golden gene begins to grow crazily. Sauron's gene chain, which was originally 1/10 golden, began to become more and more numerous. With only 9, Sauron can completely turn his genes into golden genes. But Sauron has divine persons in his hands. After the golden gene swallowed up the 9 divine beings, Sauron's genes completely turned golden. His genes have completely turned into divine genes. His body caused amazing changes. In each cell, a new golden god gene begins to give birth to a new god cell. The new divine cells swallowed up the old cells. The new divine cells are far more powerful than the old cells. A more powerful and new Sauron was born from his body. His body exudes an aura of incomparable nobility. Billions of years after the birth of this universe, a new innate god was born. The gods in the almighty city felt a noble, ancient, and powerful aura that made them surrender. They all looked up and saw Sauron at the top. The birth of every innate god is crucial to the universe. In the universe, a thunderous sound echoed throughout the entire universe, and only the gods and some powerful beings could hear it. They were all surprised that such a big event had not happened in the universe for many years. But this is not the end for Sauron. He still has 18 divine beings that he has not yet devoured and absorbed. Golden genes, continue to devour. One by one, the divine personalities were swallowed up by the golden gene and became the nutrients for the growth of the golden gene. The power of the universe was absorbed by the golden gene. After the absorption of the 18 divine beings, the golden genes turned into the most noble purple gold color. But this purple gold gene only accounts for less than 1/10 of the complete gene chain. At least 80 more divine beings are needed to evolve all of their genes into purple gold genes. The new divine body is extremely powerful. It's several times the original. He was originally in the early stage of the Black Iron Superman level, but at this moment, he has reached the late stage of the Black Iron Superman level. Just a complete metamorphosis of genes, and the strength increases like a leap. But this is not the upper limit brought by his new body. This is just the basic improvement brought about by the birth of the divine body. With the real body and the divine breathing method, Soren's strength will experience a rapid surge in a short period of time. But for Sauron, the divine genes swallowed up many divine personalities, making Soren's original life status extremely high. His personal power has not become complicated by swallowing up various divine personalities. His sun god personas have been enhanced in power dozens of times and hundreds of times. Only the fixed star that gave birth to life can be called the sun, but the power of Sauron, the sun god, has been elevated to a terrifying level. He has evolved into the god of fixed star. He can feel all the fixed stars in the entire galaxy. Although he cannot control the movement of these fixed stars, he can draw huge energy from these fixed stars in the void. As long as he is in any fixed star system, his combat power can be infinitely blessed by the fixed star of that system. Every fixed star in the galaxy can become his space beacon, and he can use these fixed stars as points to jump in space. Even if his body is destroyed, he can still give birth to a larger divine body from any fixed star. Unless someone destroys the galaxy at once, he will be immortal. At the same time, he has the lifespan of a fixed star. The golden gene, this divine treasure from the manifest universe, is so unbelievable. Sauron opened his eyes, and a golden sun was reflected in his eyes. He raised his head and looked at the sun above his head, and he could see its reality at a glance. This sun is too small, and it is impossible for nature to produce a fixed star of this size. It is a powerful technological creation. Belongs to a kind of artificial sun. But even if it is an artificial sun, as long as it fulfills the duties of fixed star, Sauron can feel it and draw energy from it. The power of the innate god is so terrifying. No, it's not the innate gods of the Marvel universe who are so powerful, but the power given by Soren's divine genes, Yin Bat Yin. However, Soren's divine genes made it difficult for Sauron to give birth to children. It requires the existence of genes no weaker than Soren's in order to successfully combine and give birth to an extremely powerful heir. Once Soren's life essence leaves his body, it will turn into mortal matter. Whether it is his current one or his previous one, even if it is obtained by someone who is interested, it has no value for Sun Point research. This is actually a good thing for Sauron. He can sow seeds as he likes without worrying, and suddenly one day a child of his will appear. Don't worry, others will get your life seeds and do some genetic research. He already has the life of level fixed star and no longer needs the continuation of his bloodline. When Sauron appeared next to Zeus, his eyes widened as if he had seen a ghost. Shet, this is impossible. You are obviously a descendant of a god, how could you become an innate god? That's incredible, unless you have 6 infinite gems. With a discerning smile on his face, Sauron would not regard him as his father-in-law just because he slept with Zeus's daughter. It's nothing, maybe my bloodline is a little special. Sauron casually explained that he could just push his own bloodline anyway. In the eyes of Zeus, he was the child of one of the 5 gods. No matter what, rely on the 5 great gods, even if it is impossible, it will become possible. Hey, God is more powerful than God, I'm so angry with Death God. Zeus is not the first generation god, that is, the innate god. He has owned the golden apple for thousands of years, but his bloodline has not reached the level of the ancestor god. But when I think about it, even my ancestors are still little Kayla Rice when facing the 5 great gods. He could only express deep envy towards Sauron. Zeus, my purpose of coming to provide all-round support has been achieved, and it's time to leave. Sauron proposed to leave. Okay, remember, in 1 month, we will go to Ego Planet to attend our carnival party. Zeus reminded. Yi-Je is also a god of the universe. The brain of a certain celestial god gave birth to a new sense of freedom, gathered the surrounding matter, and protected himself with a thick crust, and he became a planet. Egg walking in the universe is just a duplication created by him. Sauron nodded. Egg was destined to die. He didn't know if he would gain the ability of the complete celestial clan if he died in his own hands. Boarding the sailing battleship, Thor and others followed Sauron and left the almighty city. Thor, Loki, Sif and others all looked at Sauron with admiration. One person defeated all the gods in the almighty city. This is simply a myth. It's a legend. Sauron, let me follow you from now on. Thor's face turned red as he drank, and his face was full of excitement. You are really too powerful. Defeat all the gods by yourself. Enough to leave a powerful legend in the universe. I want to follow you and leave legends in the universe together. At this moment, Thor didn't want to be a king at all. In the past, he worshipped his father Odin and Zeus in his heart. But now, he worships Sauron. Sauron just smiled, neither refusing nor agreeing. Thor was the one. Sauron had already acquiesced. He was extremely excited and led everyone to drink and celebrate. And grabbed Loki's shoulders and said to him, "My brother, I want to follow Sauron to conquer the universe and become a legend. The throne of Asgard is left to you." Before this time, he would still be extremely eager for the throne of Asgard. But now, he has seen a grander world. Witnessed the birth of a great legend. Asgard, 9 realms, is already extremely small in his eyes. No, my brother, you are the first heir to Asgard. You should go back and inherit the throne obediently. I will follow Sauron, become his knight, witness his greatness, and praise his legend. Loki looked at Sauron with excitement and admiration in his eyes. Sauron heard their voices and smiled slightly. If the plot breaks down, let it break down. He also didn't expect that his body actually contained the genes of the gods of the real universe. And this time he was completely promoted to the innate god, and the power of the gods shocked him even more. He became the god of all fixed stars in the galaxy, and he no longer looked down upon the superpowers who would be born on the blue star. His future focus will be on powerful gods and ancient beings in the universe, as well as infinite gems, etc. Loki can't wander the universe, and it doesn't matter if he meets Thanos or gets a psychic scepter. Just know that the mind scepter is in the hands of Thanos. Sif walked up to Sauron. Her eyes were extremely hot, but they were also full of admiration. "Dear sun god, where are we going now?" Sauron carefully felt the power of the sun god that he had left in the bodies of the golden dragon and the jade emperor. They also left the almighty city and were returning to their own place. Sauron input a coordinate into Sif's mind. That is an interception coordinate. Through space jumping, the jade emperor and the golden dragon can be intercepted. Their destinations were different, but they went along the way. They walked for 10 yuan. Yes. Sif didn't ask why, but went to control the sailing battleship. Looking at the extremely ancient sail warship, it shows amazing technology. The huge sail warship started the space jump and made space jumps from one space jump point after another. Even when passing through the entrance to a certain space jump point, Sauron saw 5 brain gates from the planet below. Observer. It took 18 consecutive jumps before reaching the interception point. 10 minutes later, a spaceship that looked like an ancient oriental ship jumped out of the jumping point and stopped helplessly due to the obstruction of the sail warship. The Jade Emperor and the Golden Dragon god in the building ship could be recognized at a glance as Asgard's ship. The superior aura emanating from the ship that strongly suppressed them was, needless to say, Sauron. The Jade Emperor and the Golden Dragon god flew out of the building ship and flew towards the sail warship. Solon, God of the Sun, why did you block our way? The Jade Emperor spoke fluently in English. Soren's voice came from inside the ship, and his voice was dull. Jade Emperor, Golden Dragon, your existence has tarnished the Eastern mythology, commit suicide. The Jade Emperor in the Marvel Universe is just a god who ate a flat peach. Sauron just wants to clear the door. However, when the Jade Emperor and the Golden Dragon heard this, their expressions suddenly changed. The Jade Emperor even said angrily, "Sun God Sauron, why do you want us to commit suicide? I am the majestic Jade Emperor, the supreme ruler of Dalwotian. I am on an equal footing with Odin and Zeus. You are just a god under Odin. Do you really think you are so powerful that you are lawless?" The Jade Emperor was extremely angry. He was once a prince of a country and became a god after eating a flat peach. Ruler of Dalwotian, he is the god of Marvel East. Among his subordinates are powerful gods such as Nezha, Sun Wukong, and Guan Yu. They are all in the special dimensional world of Dalwotian. It has been a long time since I interfered in human affairs. Dalwotian's dimension entrance in Blue Star was closed, so the Jade Emperor had to use other entrances to enter and exit. On the surface, Blue Star is the territory of Asgard. More than 1,000 years ago, Odin and Hela conquered this territory. In the movies Sauron has watched, these are not explained. But if you analyze it with your brain, you can understand it. The Jade Emperor of the Marvel Universe really tarnishes the name. He must have been defeated in that ancient war. Otherwise, why is Blue Star one of the 9 realms? The East on Blue Star has become a godless land, allowing Mandarin to dominate. Everything should be cleaned up. Sauron took a deep breath, strode out of the battleship, and came to the front of the Jade Emperor and the Golden Dragon. Sauron put his fingers on his temples and recalled all the memories in his mind about heaven, about the real Jade Emperor, about Yangjian, the god of war in the 3 realms, about Nezha, the great god of the 3 altar seas, and about the Monkey King, the Monkey King. Made a copy. Jade Emperor, I have this memory, even if I let you 4 understand why I have to kill you. After Sauron finished speaking, he flicked the memory ball in front of the Jade Emperor. The Jade Emperor gritted his teeth and put the memory ball between his eyebrows. His mind exploded. The extremely huge mythical world in Soren's memory appeared in the Jade Emperor's mind. The Jade Emperor, who is in charge of heaven and suppresses the 3 realms, makes the Jade Emperor understand what the real Jade Emperor is. It was just a blink of an eye, but in the Jade Emperor's heart, it took a long time. He opened his eyes, full of horror. The Eastern myths and stories in this universe have been infinitely weakened. No, impossible. That's not me. This is all fake. I am the real one. The Jade Emperor couldn't accept it at all. The Jade Emperor in the Memory Light group was too powerful. He practiced for hundreds of millions of years and experienced various disasters before he sat on the throne of the Jade Emperor. And he just ate a flat peach. And he regarded it as the supreme divine object, just one flat peach that turned him into the Jade Emperor. In that Memory Light ball, there was actually a flat peach orchard with 3 different flat peach trees, each with 1,200 trees. The flat peach he had eaten was exactly the same as the lowest one in the Memory Light group. But this kind of flat peach, in the Memory Light group, is for those low-level gods to eat. He cannot accept the reality of this Honguogo. You devil, this is all fake. You made it all to deceive me. I am the Jade Emperor. What you showed me was not me at all. Sauron heard this and sneered. You were right, you are not him at all. Although he has all kinds of bad qualities in my heart, he is not something you can blaspheme. I'll show you this to make you understand. Soren's eyes turned white. The scorching white heat vision, with extremely terrifying power, bombarded the Jade Emperor. He mobilized the divine power in his body to resist, but what this heat vision released was not the fixed star energy, but the power of the sun god. The Jade Emperor's divine defense was instantly broken. The heat vision hit his chest and chased him directly into the house. The heart, lungs, liver and other organs are directly keified. This so-called Yue was just a mortal who gained power after eating the so-called flat peach and became the Jade Emperor. The Jade Emperor wanted to escape, but Sauron used his huge spiritual power to hold him firmly in place. As the heat vision moves, the power of the sun god destroys the Jade Emperor's body. Finally, the Jade Emperor's head was completely evaporated. And a flat peach appeared at the place where the Jade Emperor was evaporated, exuding an alluring fragrance. Thor, Loki, Sif and others all smelled the aroma and couldn't help but drool, wanting to eat the flat peach. Sauron waved his hand, and the peach fell into his hand. What bullshit flat peach, ha! Sauron directly exchanged him for system gold coins. What made Sauron frown was that after killing the Jade Emperor, it didn't drop. It can be seen that all the power of this Jade Emperor comes from the flat peach. And this flat peach can be exchanged for 1 million gold coins. It seems that the original Eastern god in the Marvel Universe, the Yuan Shi Tianzun who gave the Jade Emperor peaches, has something. Soren's murderous intention did not end with the death of the Jade Emperor. This Jade Emperor looks like a Japanese god, who will have room for death. The Golden Dragon, looking at the powerful Jade Emperor, died instantly in the hands of Sauron. It was so frightened that it trembled all over. Dear sun god, I am willing to be your mount, please don't kill me. Soren's eyes fell on the Golden Dragon. Sauron knows that there are only 2 Eastern dragons in the Marvel Universe. One is the golden dragon in front of me, and the other is the dragon in the tarot. Both of them are incomparable to the real Eastern dragon. Not even Zhao can compare with it. In Soren's eyes, they only serve one purpose, to become a delicacy. Dragon liver and phoenix marrow, that is a dish at the Peach Festival. Sauron will try it today. Your existence is also a stain. Sauron was so reluctant that he appeared next to the golden dragon in an instant. The golden dragon was immediately shocked. He mobilized the divine power in his body, and the surrounding space began to ripple, and a wormhole appeared in the blink of an eye. The golden dragon wants to get into the wormhole and escape from here. But its tail was tightly grasped by Sauron. Like walking. Sauron grabbed the dragon's tail and swung it back and forth. It's like someone caught a snake and knocked it unconscious. At this moment, the golden dragon is like a little green snake in Soren's hand. Well, the golden dragon made a painful roar, but it couldn't resist the terrifying power coming from its tail. His body was bent into 18 sections. He could even hear the sound of his spine breaking. After dozens of times, the golden dragon was soft and suspended in the void. On the battleship, Thor and others were stunned. Hiss. It's so powerful. I know this golden dragon, a very powerful god. It should feel good to shake someone like that, right? Loki didn't know that if everything stayed the same, he would be shaken by Hulk like this. Thor would also be shaken by Hulk like this. The admiration in Sif's eyes became even stronger. This is a real man. She couldn't help but sigh. The power of the sun god in Soren's body was rolling, and his body was constantly changing. This is the ability of a certain god that has been absorbed. It can grow and shrink freely. When Sauron reached 100 meters high, he stopped, and the golden dragon was like a big python in his hands. Soren's nails were extremely hard and sharp, and golden blood flowed out of the belly of the golden dragon. The golden dragon roared in pain, but could not resist. His bones were broken, and his body was suppressed by Soren's spiritual power. The entire abdomen of the golden dragon was cut open, and golden blood was suspended in the void. Gathered into a large group, they seemed to exude a color that was better than gold. Quote, You don't even have reverse scales, how dare you say you are a dragon? Sauron sneered. However, the dragon scales near the golden dragon's head are still very hard, even comparable to adamantium. This piece of dragon skin and dragon scales will make a good dress. Sauron put it away, and the skin of the golden dragon was pulled away, and the scarlet flesh was exposed in the vacuum. The dragon's liver, dragon's heart, and dragon's kidneys were all picked off. The dragon's intestines are quite clean, and the golden dragon has separated from food and feeds on energy. Pour dragon blood into dragon intestines to make dragon blood sausage. The dragon meat is also separated. The power of the sun god condensed into a fireball. Under the spiritual power of Sauron, meat, flesh and bones, liver, kidneys, heart, blood sausage and so on. Everything begins to bake under the fireball of the power of the sun god. Sauron didn't waste the golden dragon's head, and roasted the dipterocarp's flowers. Soon, the meat exuded an extremely tempting aroma. Sauron gave some to Thor and others on the battleship. He was in the form of a 100-meter-tall giant, grabbed the dragon liver and dragon meat, and started to feast on it. Delicious. So delicious. This is the best food I have ever eaten. Oh my god, this is the most delicious thing I have ever eaten in my life of more than 1,000 years. What kind of rubbish did I eat before? Thor and Loki, as princes of Asgard, lived in fine clothes and fine food every day, but they had never eaten such delicious food. But after eating, all of them, the money ones, turned red. The energy contained in dragon meat is so abundant. They need to use meditation to digest it. A whole dragon, which Thor and the others ate, was not even 1,000th of it. All the rest went into Soren's stomach. He ate a whole dragon and his body shrank, but his belly did not bulge. Even he could feel that this golden dragon was so filling. Especially the dragon's waist. Soren's face turned red, and his body was filled with strong pure yang energy. Looking at Sif, who was digesting the energy in his body through meditation, Sauron closed his eyes and connected his consciousness to the countless fixed stars in the galaxy. Soon, he found Captain Marvel, who was helping the local civilization in a certain fixed star system. With his current body, only Captain Marvel can bear it. No matter it is MJ, Dark Phoenix or their fragile bodies, they cannot withstand his tyrannical body rules. Whoosh! Sauron disappeared instantly, and using the fixed star as an anchor, he instantly appeared near a star 150 light-years away. Sauron entered FTL and soon found Captain Marvel Carol. Sauron, why are you here? Carol was shocked. This place is more than 500 light-years away from Blue Star. How did Sauron find him? Don't be too busy now. I just ate a pair of dragon kidneys and overstuffed them. After Sauron finished speaking, he pulled Carol away and went directly to a desolate planet in the fixed star system. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.